Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special You've Got Your Sci-Fi in My Other Thing edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party!
Monstrous!
Monster Party!
Choo, 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 choo.
Woo. Oh, we're taking one thing and we're kind of mixing it with another thing.
Throwing it all in a blender.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting ride. But before we take that ride, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am SHAWN Sheridan.
I am Larry STROTHE.
And I'm James GONIS.
And for this episode, we are going to tackle something that has become a very popular trend in genre films, specifically science fiction. And this is something that has been going strong for many years, for I think maybe as long as science fiction in film and TV has been around. And so for this episode, our topic is Sci-Fi Mashups, The Mandalorian and Beyond.
Sci-Fi Mashups, The Mandalorian and Beyond.
Mashups. So we're taking some sci-fi and we're mixing it with maybe another genre. You know?
Inspired by a different genre.
Yeah. Or
sci-fi movies that are sometimes sourced from non-sci-fi stories, literature, other movies, whatever.
Very well said. And that's it. Yeah. And that's what we're going to do. And we can't really even begin to cover everything, but we're going to try.
But we need a real smart person to do this with tonight, don't you think?
Absolutely.
A really smart, sharp, kind of like a lawyer-like person. Someone who's went through law school.
We need a lawyer to sift through all of this.
All the legalese.
Because we're bound to say something that is litigious. So it's good to have him here. Well, that's correct, Larry. And we need someone like that who also loves the genre, loves these kind of mashups, and loves certainly The Mandalorian and Star Wars. Our guest is an old friend of ours, of mine. He hosts this fabulous podcast and blog called The Legal Geeks. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome Josh Gilliland.
Josh Gilliland!
Welcome.
Josh!
The attorney is back. Attorney.
I like that. I like that's very nice. It's very classy. You are an attorney, yes?
I am. I got the scars to prove it. And it is so good to see you. This is also the first regular episode.
Your first official episode, because you were on an episode, but it was part of our Comic-Con.
Oh, that's true.
Edition.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
And you are our guest for that, but that's kind of a different animal.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, yes, this is your first official episode, which means that you're now entitled to the audio hazing that happens with every first guest.
I wear my hat with pride. It is so good to see you guys. I've missed you.
Likewise.
Yeah, I missed you too.
Likewise.
But I feel like I get to see you because I listen to each episode, and it's just you help keep me sane.
Oh, that's nice.
In insane times, yes.
Well, we feel like we do that kind of for all of us. Like this whole thing is kind of our little
self-therapeutic.
Yeah, right. I think Larry said it best. It's our bowling night.
Yeah.
I'm always especially honored when the host of another podcast actually listens to our podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's like you take the time to do that. And
Right.
I'm sure you get pointers from our show, and you get ideas and stuff.
What did I say about that audio hazing?
And inspiration, like the August show.
Ragoni.
August Ragoni, yeah.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
Tokusatsu.
Oh God,
He knows his stuff, man.
God, I was just so enthralled listening to it and hearing someone who just loves kaiju movies.
Yeah.
And the reverence for Ultraman and all the Ultra series. It was just, God, I was so happy listening to that.
Yeah.
So,
He definitely hooked me up to a lot of sources to find this stuff too.
Yeah, right.
So I will forever be in his debt.
But that was a great topic. We had a great guest. Tonight's topic, we have a great topic and we have a great guest. And some people may be wondering, hey, you Monster Party guys, what's the deal with talking about The Mandalorian now? I mean, it came out a while ago. Well, folks, it's a great show and we were going to talk about it. But it's like sometimes you don't want to give out spoilers. And as Sean mentioned, there's so much in The Mandalorian that can be found in other places. That makes
it's very much like, it's very obviously spaghetti Western inspired.
But I will say this, if you guys don't mind, if you have not seen The Mandalorian, stop the show now. Go and watch it. No, because there are going to be some spoilers that we're talking about.
Okay, pause the show. Pause it.
And look, I'm just saying we're going to be talking about some stuff that's going to be spoilers, and I'd rather have you see this and be surprised. Check out the show, watch all the episodes. You'll be pleasantly surprised, and then you can come back to us. Just come back and tune in right where you paused us and listen in.
Thank you for the spoiler alert thing, because that is very important. And I have to say, as a non-hardcore Star Wars person, which again doesn't mean that I don't like Star Wars. I like the first two, and I don't mean episode 1 and 2. I mean Star Wars and the Empire. 4. There you go. And the Empire Strikes Back. And then, there's some of the animated stuff I'm hit and miss with, but some of that I've enjoyed. But then this came along. Yeah. And I feel like this show has finally found my sweet spot. Like, it kind of pares everything down.
That's the key, I think. It simplifies it. Like,
it simplifies it.
When they try to make a new movie, there's so much baggage, so much responsibility to cover everything they have to cover. But I think Jon Favreau very smartly whittled down this series to, the adventures of one character and keeping it simple and linear, and like I said, very much like a spaghetti Western, loner anti-hero, but doing it within the Star Wars universe. And that's what I think works really well.
It's so great to see classic stormtroopers again. My favorite, my favorite design in all of Star Wars is the stormtrooper.
Sure.
I would agree. And it's funny, just following along that, the thing when I started to watch this, it made me feel as if Star Wars is cool again. See, I feel like the first two movies, like you were said, I felt they were really cool. And then we got off on this funky train. This show made it cool again. Josh, how do you feel about that?
It's everything I love about Star Wars. And I think that comes from Dave Filoni, who's now directed more Star Wars than Lucas has because of all the animated experience, and Jon Favreau, being Gen Xers who grew up loving the material.
Right, loving the material, right.
You can tell what toys
they're nerds. Yeah, they're nerds first, filmmakers second.
They have reverence. It's so well done. I don't stay up late to watch a premiere, but I do for Mandalorian. I'll get up at 2 a.m. and watch the new episodes when they would drop. And it makes me feel like I'm 5 years old, getting up early on a Saturday morning to watch a cartoon at 6 a.m. And it's like, I'm 46. I haven't done that in a decade. And the fact that there are people who have cried over a puppet, that's how good they are at this.
Or damaged.
Yeah. As a Gen Xer, I absolutely love the fact that people from my age group are the ones making Star Wars now.
Right.
David Filoni and Jon Favreau clearly have a love of the source material. We know what toys they played with in 1979. And if it wasn't for a pandemic or the fact there would be security guards, I would be happy to hug either one of them. Because again, when season 1 and season 2 were out, I'd get up at 2 a.m. to watch it. One of my buddies who's a lawyer in Pennsylvania, would text me after he watched it, and and like trying to explain to his wife, like, no, I'm texting Josh at 6 a.m. Again, totally normal. it unites fans on such a fundamental level. And as we talk about episodes, we can get into like what works, but it is pure Star Wars, from characters deciding to do the right thing who lived a life not necessarily doing that.
It's the Han Solo movie that you didn't get. It's
Right.
It's an anti-hero who becomes a hero. I mean, Pedro Pascal's charisma in this thing is so good. And the fact that you can make that puppet, that Grogu puppet, into this living, breathing thing
that looks like a baby Yoda, as people have kind of nicknamed it.
But
Yes,
like even with that, though, even with like a cute little puppet character, they could so easily have fallen into the Ewok, problem, and they don't. Even with that, they're restrained with it. They're careful with it, not to overdo it. Like that's very important.
Well, they could have fallen into the CGI trap too.
Exactly.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's say you've never seen The Mandalorian. How would you describe the story? What does it follow?
It's the story of a bounty hunter whose mission in life is to capture people on the run. There are also bounty hunters who go around as mercenaries killing, and there are big legal issues with that because that's murder for hire. Who's given a choice at the end of the first episode. Do you let the IG-11 shoot an infant because there's a death mark out on the kid?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you shoot the robot and save the kid? And he decides to save the kid. And what follows, the mystery of it, the adventure of it, I think a lot of it can be summed up in the third episode, The Sin. Because the sin was saving the kid from the space Nazis.
Yes.
So the direction in that episode, that director, I believe it's Deborah Chow, she was given the Kenobi series because of episode 3.
Oh, cool.
After the kid is given to the Imperial Remnant and they're taking him away to go do experiments on him, he makes the sin of asking what's going to happen.
He asked the question.
Right.
He's not, it's like, do your job. It's like, you delivered, that you get your payment, you should walk away. But something made, so what are you going to do with this? There's some sense of morality,
You don't see the face, and the way that the visual storytelling of him in the cockpit getting ready to take off, and he reaches up to the lever and the ball on top of it's gone because the kid took it off to play with it, and the way he freezes and looks at it and then powers down the ship is everything good and beautiful about Star Wars, because it's about going, I'm not going to do this.
It's like character subtlety and shade amidst all this slam bang special effects. And that's why it's a good combination, because like as you said, of so many other movies, they get lost in the spectacle and like the character development is an afterthought, but this is driven by that character. And it's just paced really well. It moves at a momentum, and there's a kind of an urgency to it. I like that the episodes aren't too long,
Yes.
They're done, even going back to the original Star Wars, how that was inspired by chapter serials of like Flash Gordon. Mandalorian works really well as chapters in the story.
I agree.
And things for me, like Josh touched upon this, one of the things that I loved about it, as I, like you, Josh, growing up with the early films, the first one and the second one and stuff, and you have a certain, there's a special feeling towards these things that you saw in the first episode. And there was a character in the third movie that I hated. That was Salacious Crumb. And you actually see little roasted Salacious. I lost my mind at that moment. I went, oh my, that was so great. And what Sean says, it was subtle, but I saw it. Another thing, you mentioned the toys that these guys played with. Josh, I don't think in any of the movies earlier there was ever an Imperial Troop transporter, but there was a toy. And then I see the Imperial Troop transporter. I'm like, oh my God, that was a toy. And it blew my mind. There were a bunch of other things where you saw the dewbacks, the banthas, the giant banthas. These were things that I thought had been lost in the whole Star Wars stories.
But they don't pander to the audience either.
Yes, you're right, Sean. You're right, Sean. It wasn't like it was. They were all subtle things, and they all fit within each of the stories.
Right.
But and when you watch it, you have to realize that this director really likes or loves the subject matter.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
There's also a thing that The Mandalorian does, and it's called the Kuleshov Effect. And what it is it's this filmmaker, Lev Kuleshov. He did this sort of experimental cinema where he spliced together footage of an expressionless Russian actor with images of things like soup and a girl in a coffin. And that after seeing those other images, you would then come back and you would imprint on this blank expression what you thought was going on in that person's head. And so that's what you get in a lot of Star Wars, because Star Wars does that with Darth Vader and C-3PO. But with The Mandalorian, you get these moments where, I'm watching the show and I feel like I'm really in the inner mind of The Mandalorian.
Right.
But there's no expression whatsoever. That's pretty impressive to be able to pull something like that off and to make you really feel for this guy and to feel his humanity. And it's just a helmet. It's pretty impressive. And I have to say, like I said, I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, but this is like the first Star Wars that I've enjoyed in ages. Whereas, we've had our disagreements about the Godzilla movies, but this one I think is, I would say, 98% successful.
I got to hand it to Jon Favreau. The very first time I was ever aware of him was in the movie Swingers. Which he had written. He plays this East Coast transplant to LA who's trying to make it in the entertainment business, and he's single and he had a breakup and he's still kind of getting over that. And he's hanging out with these guys, Vince Vaughn and these other lounge lizards, and going to bars and trying to get digits from trying to meet girls.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's kind of painful, and I could relate so much to that character because at that time I was sort of, that was my life. And there's one.
And look at you now.
I know, really.
Suave, sophisticated, man about town.
But just there's one point, like in the middle of the movie, where you see his little apartment, and it's a Spartan little apartment, and there's nothing on the shelves except a little Godzilla figure. I'm like, holy shit.
Which one?
And which Godzilla figure? It was too far away to actually know which. Okay. But flash forward now. And I'm not sure if he hadn't done such a great job with the first Iron Man movie. I'm not sure if what shape the Marvel Cinematic Universe would be in right now.
I agree. That was a gamble, and the fact that it turned out so good, and the fact that he was able to have the control and the quality control throughout that franchise. Look. He's the most powerful nerd on planet Earth right now.
I agree.
He is,
and deserves it.
Exactly. Look, he's had his missteps. Cowboys versus aliens, but
speaking of mashups,
exactly. It's on my list.
Still fun.
But look, for that. He's done a fantastic job with so many franchises. It's pretty amazing.
Now yes. The Mandalorian is a mashup with Westerns, but just like a lot of Westerns are mashups with samurai films, there's that cross-pollination.
Sure.
And so with The Mandalorian, you've got like Lone Wolf and Cub.
Absolutely.
Right.
There's a whole series of baby cart movies that are immensely popular that have been done. I know, James, you're also a giant fan of these based on manga. But just like a lot of the Westerns, like, the Magnificent Seven was based on Seven Samurai,
right?
A lot of cross-pollination. And so that being said, the one episode that I really hate of The Mandalorian, which I think is a complete fail, is the one that they did that followed the story of the Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai.
It's called Sanctuary.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
With the shrimps.
I agree.
The little shrimp. You don't like those with the little blue shrimps?
Awful.
So funny thing.
Painful.
So that was Bryce Dallas Howard's first directorial debut. I think it did show that she's a competent director.
Sure.
I don't agree with the script of it, because she also directed The Harris in season 2, which is exceptional. The love of Kurosawa that Filoni has really overreached in this one, because I agree. I would have preferred a different episode. I didn't mind the AT-AT fight, but there's a Clone Wars episode named Bounty Hunters that is the Seventh Samurai. So the fact that they did it again, and then this time thinking we'll do it in live action, was a little obnoxious.
Right.
But
I sort of understand maybe the idea behind it was to like, hey, I'm sure there are a lot of younger viewers out there who haven't seen Seven Samurai
or the Magnificent Seven,
right? And so let's like introduce it to them in this way.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what I felt was, and this is the mistake that I think that they made, is what makes those movies great is the buildup. Getting the different people, getting the different samurai to come together, and having to coerce them, and then having them enter the town, and the town distrusting them at first, and it's this nice build, and it takes time.
Right.
This is a half hour, and it just feels hollow.
Right. I do think that the third season of Mandalorian took a while to get going, because I think the first few episodes of the last season, it was the same thing, which was, okay, I'm after this. Okay, well, I'll give you this, but first you got to do this for me. And it was like, but granted, even though within that, always his tasks or his mission in those episodes were always freaking cool. Like that's the thing. Yeah. But it took a while to get back to the central story a little bit. But I still enjoyed them. And again, they don't wear out no episode wears out its welcome, which so many shows do, I think. I mean, there are shows that just literally have complete throwaway episodes. There are literally filler episodes, that I get so pissed off at. Mandalorian doesn't have that. I mean, it's
mean and lean.
Yeah.
They learned from the mistakes on Netflix with Jessica Jones and Daredevil.
Oh.
Right. A lot of these shows, where they just Walking Dead, where they have they veer from the main storyline. They start a new season by not going back to the cliffhanger of what you just last left, but going into this fucking filler episode with these extraneous characters. Oh, the next couple episodes we'll get back to the real story. Right, that's bullshit.
Right. It's better to have 6 to 8 great episodes.
Yeah.
As opposed to 13 and just going, we're going to have 4 filler episodes throughout this.
Yeah.
It's don't do that, please.
Yeah, that's what I love. Blow us away with every episode.
Well, look, I before we go away from it, because Matt just shit all over the Sanctuary episode. Look, Matt, I knew when I saw it, I knew exactly. It's from the Seven Samurai, but here's the basic story. I know the basic story, but how are they going to interpret it? What are they going to do?
Badly.
Well, you know what, Matt? I liked it. I didn't mind the little thing with the shrimp. I didn't mind that. I love the whole AT-AT thing, or it's not an AT-AT. It's the smaller word, the PS, Josh, what is it? It's
ATST.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nice.
And I have that toy,
right.
and
I like the machinery.
And so look, was it oversimplified? Yes, it was, but it's I did enjoy it. I do think it's kind of look, for the kids who haven't seen Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven, they're going to go, oh, this is the coolest thing, and maybe it'll take them off to, you
got to call them like you see them. You know what I mean?
I know, but
I'm sure that if I were 13 years old watching that, I might think it was awesome. I just feel like from knowing all that, I can't unsee what I've seen.
Well,
it was a story told poorly.
I put on my 13-year-old hat. And I said, "Okay, what am I going to do?"
Shorts.
Yes,
you were still speaking in that high of a voice at 13. There wasn't even a crackle in that one. That was, hey, Mister.
Look again. Someone had mentioned IG-88. Now, Sean, you'll recall a long time ago we were talking about Star Wars. You go, "This is a stupid robot. What's it do? It just stands there."
And if you remember when I said, and then when I saw Mandalorian, it's wow, they made IG-88 cool.
Yeah.
Yes, that takes some doing. Yeah.
And I bet Favreau felt the same way as you did, Sean.
Sure.
Because when I remember seeing, I have the very rare large, 14-inch figure from 1979. I have that figure. And I always thought, I bet he does really cool stuff. I bet he spins around. And seeing him in The Mandalorian was so
great. That was great. That's a great episode.
Badass he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing is wonderful.
We did reaction episodes with other lawyers about each episode of The Mandalorian.
On the Legal Geeks, which is a podcast. Right?
Thank you, Larry. Mm-hmm. Yes. Founded in July of 2012.
A national institution.
Yes. Checks in the mail. That said, IG-11.
Today is Legal Geeks Day.
Became, I think, my favorite droid. And I'll throw in Taika Waititi's voice and the ass whooping that takes place in the final episode that Waititi directed.
Oh.
Again, people are crying over a motion capture actor at the end of it. The fact that Star Wars, when it's done properly, can get people to care about non-human characters.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
They succeeded at that. And it's just so well done. The fact I'm a nurse droid, I'm here to nurse and protect, and beats the crap out of two biker scouts.
Yes. Beautiful. For listeners, we had mentioned IG-88. IG-88 gets, his head kind of blown off, but then he's brought back, he's repaired, and he comes back as this nurse robot to protect and to serve and to take care. And there's this great sequence where IG-88 basically...
Now, wait a minute, hold on. Let's just correct this, because fans will write letters.
Yes, I don't want people to write letters.
That's IG-11.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Correct.
Yes. And I apologize.
It's one of the IG series.
Yes. Thank you.
Star Wars people will go berserk.
They will hunt us down.
And you know what? And I would not blame them. If someone bitched at me, I would say I apologize. But yes, again, when we're talking about Star Wars, we get excited, we ramble on, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that particular character basically offers himself as a sacrifice. And it's what Josh is saying. I got a tear in my eye at that moment. And that was such a great moment.
Yeah, it was great.
And now I look at my IG-88 toy in a whole different way now.
So there's a wonderful passage by Quill, who is the Ugnaught that's in season 1. Again, another beautiful character. But he has this quote, and I pulled it up. Droids are not good or bad. They are neutral reflections of those who imprint them. And it's that nature-nurture discussion. It's like be good to others. And it's also one of those times that we see the main character actually have growth, because Din Djarin, being a survivor of the Clone Wars, whose parents were killed by battle droids, has a slight thing against droids because that was a bit traumatic. Mm-hmm. He changes his perception and his feelings because of what happens with IG-11. And again, it's just like dynamic storytelling that's well done. And in season 2, when they go back to Navarro, there's an IG-11 statue that's in the background that's very subtle, because he was the one who liberated the town from the Imperials. So again, it's just so well done.
Yeah,
they put they fully realized the world. They put time and care into those details.
Well, and as Larry said, and if you don't mind if I quote you, but you said that the show made Star Wars cool again.
Yeah.
I think people liked Star Wars all the way through and even suffered through all these recent incarnations in film. Mm-hmm. But this is cool. This feels cool. There's an adult level to it that doesn't take away from the innocence and fun of Star Wars. It's a really wonderful thing that Jon Favreau did.
And it's fairly adult too. I mean, it's pretty violent. It's not dark. Yeah, it has an edge to it, which is cool.
And it's genuinely suspenseful. I mean, some of those episodes, I'm like, my knuckles. It's like, Jesus, my hands are in fists. But as much suspense, if not more, than in a lot of feature films in one 40-minute episode.
Right. Which goes to show you that, things don't have to be an hour and a half or 2.5 hours. Make them a half hour.
But they really service the fans. I mean, in the 3rd season, we had the return of a famous character. And I thought, how are they going to do that? But it works great.
It does.
We're talking about
better than ever.
Say who it is, Sean. It's spoiler.
We're spoiler free here. Yeah, it was Boba Fett. And what I love about that, not only because they just did it well, I mean, they treated his character with respect. They did it so well, but it also vindicated for me, like, yeah, that's right, because Boba Fett is not going to fucking die in a Sarlacc pit like some fucking die with a Wilhelm scream and then disappear from forever.
Yeah.
No, of course he would survive that. So that's why I really like that. And, seeing the Mandalorian and Boba Fett together fighting is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
We always said that what a great character Boba Fett is. Why'd they kill him off? Even in the freaking Star Wars holiday special, the animated Boba Fett was cool. And it's like you got one of the coolest characters and you kill him off in the first 20 minutes of Jedi. Like, what?
Well, that's what I don't understand about Jedi, if we can just do a tangent just for a little bit. But in Empire, you have all these things set up. You've got Boba Fett and you've got all of those bounty hunters.
Right.
And with all of those bounty hunters, I thought that the next movie was going to feature all of them, and they're all trying to go after Han Solo, and and that would have been great. And I mean, and I love the design of all those characters. I mean, I have all the Hasbro figures, the 12-inch figures of all the bounty hunters because I love them, but they were never used. Like, where's that movie? I'd love to see somebody do like a Rogue One type approach with the bounty hunters in a live action movie. I think that would be great. But
that's cool,
and if you're talking about people coming back, there's another character that comes back, and the way that it's done it's really well done. I mean, I don't know if we should spoil it.
You're talking about the last episode?
Yes.
The last.
I agree.
Yeah.
I guess that's the one. Maybe that's the one spoiler we shouldn't give away, just in case. But I would say that it is well done because you know how I feel about certain things they did in Rogue One.
I do.
Yes.
Here they pulled back. They were subtle with it. They didn't.
It's much better. Wouldn't you agree?
Great. Yeah, it was exactly how they should have done it. And yes, you're right. It's again. I'm sure it's so tempting to like bring back familiar characters from the movie. They could have done it a lot more and a lot more sloppily, and they don't. And so they pick
their moments.
Yeah, they're doing it really carefully, and it made sense story wise. And that was very good.
So both my brothers texted me after the final episode. Mm-hmm. And Jordan, who's my youngest brother, his text was, "I haven't cried like that since E.T."
What's with all the crying? What's with all the crying?
Yeah, no, I got emotional. I got emotional.
He's 30. It's okay.
I blame it on COVID. I blame this all on COVID. Everyone's just ready to bawl.
What happened to you? Where are your feelings? What happened to you?
So,
I feel them in real life way too deeply.
My full brother Gabe texted me, character first name, motherfucking character last name. And it was just like, yeah, that's right. Like that was the reaction of diehard fans and especially the Gen Xers who grew up with the original movies.
Right.
Because it was just like, oh my God. Right. And it was so satisfying to see that.
And the Force theme coming back. Yeah. All original music throughout both seasons until...
Great music, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, the main theme is fantastic. Very kind of Morricone styled almost. But yeah, Josh, do you know, like I know, because I got the feeling in the last episode of the last season that the next season will be like a whole new story in a way, which I think is good too, because like I think they've run it the course with this particular storyline. It was great, but it seems to me like they're going to do something different now in the next season, which I'm looking forward to. I hope that's true.
I do as well. So my gut feeling, and again, I've been wrong many times in my life, but the season 2 ends with the Mandalorian getting the Darksaber, which is needed to reunite Mandalore. Right. Bo-Katan can't just, but she's in it, and it's great seeing an animated character in live action now, and Katie Sackhoff does a great job with that character. My hope is season 3 is about reuniting Mandalore, And we know from Moff Gideon that there was there was a massacre, war crimes. Because if something's called the Night of 1,000 Tears, that's a very war crimey name. So
again with the crying.
But again, did they nuke Mandalore? Like, what did they do in the closing days of the Galactic Civil War?
They showed the last episode of The Mandalorian and everybody cried.
Oh my God.
Possibly. But that would require time travel. So
Cool.
We'll see what they do, but that's my hope. I mean, the fact we get the Book of Boba Fett.
And for people who think so, Boba Fett's a good guy. It's more like, they kind
he's his own guy. He
strikes a deal. Yeah. There's a sequence at the very end, and when you watch it, he's a damn badass. And he's like, I don't think he's a goody guy.
No, he's
I mean,
he's a three-dimensional character.
And he worked for Vader.
Well, yeah. Well, and Jabba the Hutt, but again,
mercenary.
You got to wonder, for a guy like that, it's not so much he's doing a job. He's doing a job, and so now he gets this place. Yeah, and it's like it's his place, and you wonder what kind of wrath is he gonna? Because I think he's got a lot of issues. He was thrown down into this creature. God knows how long it took him to get out or whatnot, and all of the story of how he got to where he was today. I mean, I'm so excited about that.
Do you think that he got out of the Sarlacc through the Sarlacc's ass because he was eaten?
Maybe.
No, I do not. You know what I think?
What do you think?
Well, if you remember, if you go into the Sarlacc, he's got all this prickly stuff to kind of prevent stuff from crawling out. Well, he still has a bunch of his weapons. I think
he's got the armor too. Like it takes a while for the Sarlacc to digest.
I think what he did is he actually killed the creature and it basically died, and perhaps he lived a bit off eating the flesh of the monster until it died and it got a little crusty and he was able to crawl out.
I hope they show like a flashback where they show him coming out of that thing.
Yeah, actually, Sean,
that'd be cool. That would be cool.
You're right. You're right, because it's kind of like, when you think back to, hey, an Escape to the Planet of the Apes, how did they get that whole spaceship? What I want to know is I want to see exactly what Sean said. I want to see how he got out. And I think that would be a great opportunity for Favreau to explore if you had a flashback. What I did.
Maybe if The Mandalorian is Clint Eastwood, like The Man with No Name, maybe Boba Fett is Lee Van Cleef.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
like that.
Well, and if I could get back to the music, yet another thing that I really enjoy about The Mandalorian is the fact that in all the other Star Wars vehicles, in the movies and everything else, we love that theme. We love the John Williams theme and the music. And I think for a while, we were really happy to hear it again and to experience that. And the fact that this one didn't do that, and in a lot of ways was used music very sparingly.
Right.
Yeah.
Made it a little more powerful, it made it feel different and fresh. And so then when you brought that music back, it was more powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, what I love is how they would start out each episode. You'd have this sequence and they'd finish the sequence and then something badass would happen. And then you hear the music, do, and then you see the Mandalorian. And it was so exciting. It was so thrilling. It was like, we're watching a different Star Wars attitude. This was kind of more badass.
Part of the fun too is that they've got this whole universe and this whole chronology to play with, and a lot of times, unless you know a lot about it, you don't know where it fits in until you start watching it. I just started watching The Bad Batch, which this takes place concurrently with Revenge of the Sith, apparently, and The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which is a period that has not been overexposed, and you still have the stormtroopers, you have the remnants of the Empire after it's fallen. Right. You've still got them as a kind of lingering threat, and it's great that they use all those things as story tools because they're there. It's like, why not?
Right.
It's funny. There's a sequence which again, it's a spoiler, but it's one of those moments where I just loved. You have a couple of the stormtroopers, the speeder bike guys, who actually capture the little child. and they're sitting and they're waiting. And there's this moment where they're just, and it's basically this moment. It's like it feels like it's 10 minutes, but it's 5 minutes. These two guys, they're sitting on their bikes. And it's like, should we go in? No, not yet. We're not ready. It's like they'll when they're ready for us, they'll call us. Hey, can I see what's in the bag? No, I don't want to show. There's this whole banter back and forth, and then they're trying to fuck around by trying to shoot something, and they keep missing. And I'm all, stormtroopers. This is the big criticism, that they can't hit, they can't shoot straight. And I was just laughing so hard at that moment. You're sitting there trying to do target practice, and they keep missing.
It's like a fan film.
Oh, James, and I loved every second of that sequence.
I think this is about as close as we're ever going to get to all agreeing on something.
At least for Star Wars, probably. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, agreed. And God, you guys raised so many points. I was looking up the other live action that's coming out, but so there are 2 spin-offs from The Mandalorian that are going to be live shows. So one is Ahsoka will have her own show.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep. And it's, as we talk about fusions, her lightsabers are modeled after Katan's. So there's definitely that. The other is Rangers of the New Republic. So we don't know exactly what that will be. Maybe it'll be the X-Wing pilots that we saw flying around.
Right.
Maybe it's something else entirely different. You also get the Book of Boba Fett, and there will be a season 3 of Mandalorian. The other
live action Kenobi show, right?
Yep, you get Kenobi, which will be Andor, Cassian Andor from Rogue One. Wow. His show will be like 5 years before the events of Rogue One.
I just hope that all of those, that so many projects, that they're all given the same attention.
But in a way, maybe it's better than doing more movies, because
I agree.
So that's the thing. It's like you're always kind of crossing your fingers when a new movie comes up. But like with now, I don't know if they
less pressure, maybe.
Yeah, if the right people in charge, just do the series because it can work really well.
What's the Bad Batch? What's that?
It leads directly after the Clone Wars. So it just premiered yesterday on May 4th.
And is it live action?
No, it's animated.
It's animated.
And so they're Clone Force 99. So there were 5 clones who were mutants. So they were just a little bit different than the regs, as they call them. Huh. And so one's super smart, one's a sniper, one has like Wolverine type senses, and his name's Hunter. And
that's a cool idea.
And there's one called Wrecker, who's the big guy. And it begins with the Order 66. And so with these guys in battle. Well, Order 66 only affects one of the Bad Batch. And the battle that they're at is with one of the characters who will later be in Star Wars Rebels, Kanan. So you see Kanan as a little boy, as a youngling, as a Padawan, when this goes down. And so it explains why he's traumatized and not really fond of clones at the time that we see him in Rebels. And it was a 70-minute episode and just really well done. I've only watched it once, but I was pleasantly surprised with it. You have them all watching the Emperor's speech going like, we're now going to be an empire. And all the clones are cheering except for them going like, we're part of the Republic. What's going on here? Like this doesn't sound okay. And Tarkin is a main threat. So Steve Stanton voices Tarkin and does a damn good job at it.
Nice.
And
he sounds like Cushing.
Sounds like Peter Cushing.
More than the guy in Rogue One did.
Yeah, who didn't at all.
Yeah, like really, how hard is it to get a guy?
I know, right? Yeah, I'm sure Wally Wingert can do a Peter Cushing.
Sure, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, Stanton has a deep respect for the character, and listening to interviews with him, and I'm like, he cosplays as Tarkin at Star Wars Celebration. Nice. He gets it down.
Anything to save your marriage.
Definitely reads the source material on the books and everything. So he understands the character, and he's done him the most out of everybody. Because again, he Tarkin was in Clone Wars, as in the animated series, and then appeared in Rebels as well. So he's done Tarkin the most out of everybody. That's cool. He's in this and he's a hands-on admiral. So there's going to be a Lando show, and they didn't say if it's Donald Glover or Billy D, or my hope is both, with old Lando telling flashback stories.
Wow.
And
yeah, they should get both. One thing I actually did like about Solo, because I'm not a big fan of that movie at all, but I did like Donald Glover.
Yeah, I liked him too.
Me too.
There's also going to be another anime called Visions, and it's supposed to be more like anime, and it's like one-off stories.
That's good.
There's a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Only 2 movies in this list. One is Rogue Squadron. That
is another standalone one.
Yeah, standalone.
Good.
And, fighter pilots, and then the Acolyte, which is supposed to be at the end of the High Republic era. So that's like goes back 200 years. Ooh. And don't know who's directing that one. And they still haven't announced what Taika Waititi's movie will be. So we're going to have Star Wars stuff until the day we die.
I want like an Aunt Beru graduate type.
young Aunt Beru to hear Crazy Your Wild Days.
It's funny you should bring up Aunt Beru, because if you guys, yes, Sean, because if you recall, in, I believe it was in Attack of the Clones, right? Don't we meet the young Uncle Owen and the Aunt Beru? And she's a little meaty, but she still looks good. I mean, she still looks good. And you think about it, it's not like you have it's a planet full of models and stuff. I mean, these are hard-working folk. The salt of the earth kind of a thing. But she looks really good, I think.
I want the Uncle Ben diaries.
So, Uncle Owen.
Or Uncle Owen.
Uncle Ben.
I always call him Ben. No, because
are we talking about Spider-Man or the rice?
Because you say Aunt Beru, it's just a B. Saying
Uncle Ben.
I'm so embarrassed. hey, man, look, I said
maybe Uncle Owen likes rice. You don't know.
Look, I said IG.
The mashup.
So I'm not going to jump all over you, Sean. We're all entitled. Again, there's a lot of characters.
Yes, there are.
Look, the first Star Wars film came out in 1977, and now we have so much Star Wars. Now it's going to surpass the Star Trek stuff with all the television stuff.
Thank goodness. I never thought I would say that.
I'm just
the
saying.
Star Wars stuff is so much better than the Star Trek.
That's the thing, Agreed. Giant franchises. You got, if you don't do it right, it's
it's okay. So a few things. The actor who played Uncle Owen in Revenge of the Sith will be reprising the role in the Kenobi series.
Thank God.
Wow. So we don't. Okay, but it highlights like. They're in their 20s at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And by the time of The New Hope, 19 years later, they look like they're in their 70s.
Right. Yeah.
That's some hard living on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It is. I wouldn't want to live there. Evaporators to always fix. And, Jaws
and blue milk has a lot of calories.
Yeah, well, and also there's 2 suns. When you go to Tatooine, it's not green, with all kinds of people hanging out at the beach. No, there's a lot of sun damage, and you
can't find moisturizer on that planet.
Their houses, God bless them, it's just a little tough, but they're holes.
Well, they're farmers. You want to talk about timelines too. I mean, I just finished watching all 9 movies of the original series, right. And I'm scratching my head at times because, for one thing, the end of Revenge of the Sith, they're just starting to build the Death Star.
Right.
And it takes almost 20 years until A New Hope, until the Death Star is about done.
Right. What is this, California?
Yeah. And then between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, that's only 6 years. So, okay, well, they built the first one. Now they know what they're doing, so they can accelerate it. Okay, I'll buy that. But then between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, now you've got Starkiller Base. And I didn't think it was, that thing must have taken like 100 years to build.
But maybe they started on that early on while the other ones are still being built too. Maybe.
But Josh, maybe.
And yet no high-speed rail.
Josh, okay. Let me just ask you this, because this has been keeping me up nights. They go to
this I have to hear.
They go to all this trouble to protect Luke and Leia, right? At the end of Revenge of the Sith, and yet they don't bother to change Luke's last name. He's still Skywalker. Wouldn't you think that maybe he's a target? You keep him Skywalker, change his last name.
That's a really good point.
Maybe it's just as well known, maybe as common as like Smith or Johnson in that universe.
Well, it's the same issue with Kenobi. That's like, we'll just change his first name.
Yeah,
his first name. what an idiot.
To Ben, Uncle Ben.
That's where Ben comes from.
That's what I was thinking. Ben Kenobi.
So it highlights that the information management system of the Empire was bad. Sure, Tatooine's not technically part of the Empire.
And fairness,
that means there's like no social security. There's like no records. So
and Josh, they're trying to take over a lot of planets. I'm sure there's things that slip through the cracks. Have you guys ever been to the DMV? You go to the DMV.
It's like the Death Star in there.
Look, they're getting better. Bless them.
Stay on target.
They're hardworking people at the DMV. But sometimes there's a little piece of information that's not there or something. I mean, even when you're trying to deal with something as simple as like get, health insurance or something like that, there's information that, I thought we sent that to you. Come on, Josh, you got to cut a little slack. There's all kinds of plans trying to be in charge.
So it's information management. I mentioned before the show, I got my second COVID vaccine on Monday after work, and I got it at the Oakland Coliseum. And that's run by the state of California and the governor's office of emergency services or something like that. Mm-hmm. The operation that they had in checking people in with little pads, scanning, the barcode that I was emailed, and being able to access, like, okay, you got this on on this date, now this on May 3rd. Like, that was impressive logistics. Mm-hmm. The Empire doesn't have that.
No.
And
evidently not.
Because it's there's the joke about too big to fail. Well, you also get too big to succeed. And they clearly were too big to manage all the info they had.
Don't you also think it's like too big and you become arrogant, your head becomes inflated, and it's funny, a lot of those Empire generals and captains, it always seems like they're all these arrogant guys. In fact, there's a sequence in The Mandalorian. Remember, there's a sequence where there's a banter between one of those guys when he said, "I saw your planet destroyed." Remember that thing? And she says, "Well, which Death Star were you on? The second one?" Or do you remember that whole thing?
Right.
It was a great little piece of banter. But there's this whole arrogance thing. So I don't know.
That's what I like about them.
Yeah, don't taunt the guy with the gun. I mean, the other thing that Mandalorian has done well is the arc of Mayfield, who is the Imperial that's introduced in season 1 in The Prisoner. And then we see him come back to help and the Believer to find out the location of Moff Gideon. Mm-hmm. And, like the
sharpshooter
we
guy.
Find out. Yeah, we find out that he sees Operation Cinder, which is a war crime. So that was orders executed after the Emperor's death to scorched earth, blow up planets and kill people. And he saw civilians get killed, and like he was really upset about that. That's the type of arc that would have been good for, say, Finn. Mm-hmm. And we have 3 movies with Finn as a former stormtrooper, and like we don't get anything.
Well, they gave up, and like that's the thing. At the first one, I thought, okay, they've got something going there, but then they let his characters fall to the wayside.
Horrible.
Yeah, that was really disappointing.
Yeah,
but they did a great job in bringing that up. I would love to do a war crimes trial with Mayfield, because I don't think he's a war criminal. If all the orders he followed were lawful and he didn't target civilians, he didn't commit a war crime. Mm-hmm. And that would be, I think, fun to explore.
Right.
I'll do it in my fan fiction. I'm sorry, my slash fiction.
Well, I also wanted to mention that Matt, you brought up samurai films before, and I didn't want to let this go without mentioning that famously George Lucas drew upon Kurosawa's Hidden Fortress.
Yes, that's true.
Star Wars movie.
Right. Yeah,
and also, and The Searchers as well, famous Western.
Right.
And in Rogue One, which I also recently rewatched, the same way that Mandalorian evokes Lone Wolf and Cub, Rogue One has Zatoichi in it, basically. She's got an Asian blind swordsman who really can't miss. Just based on his extra sensory hearing, his special hearing. He's just a master swordsman.
And that's the thing is that with that movie, I liked that movie. And I certainly liked it more than, especially rewatching it, liked it more than the regular Star Wars films that were being put out. But I still feel like the Mandalorian approach had not been initiated yet. And so all those characters are so wooden and dull.
But again, and you're talking about a 2-hour movie. Yeah, you're talking about a 2-hour movie as opposed to 3 seasons. That's why. That's why I think it works well as a series.
Well, yes. But I still feel like you could have had so much fun with, Donnie Yen's character. And once again, the most interesting character in that movie was the non-human, was the robot. The droid. Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, true.
We'll be back in Andor. So again, the Cassian Andor is the only character I have a full cosplay of. The jacket, the shirt, boots, and the pants, and a belt. And so I'm cautiously optimistic that they'll do a good spy Star Wars story.
That'd be great.
It's just not everything has to be dirty, grimy. It's you can go to one of the nice planets. He can shave. And it's go clean up. If you're going to go play spy, look nice. But again, there's a bright future to Star Wars. I feel better about it than Star Trek right now.
Yeah, that's true. And like Jameson mentioned about the Seven Samurai, and it is interesting how you get so much of the samurai themed kind of origins in a lot of the Star Wars stuff, and of course,
right down to the importance of the sword itself.
Right. And how the Seven Samurai then spawned the Magnificent Seven, and then still connecting as a Star Wars influence, then you had in 1980 Battle Beyond the Stars, which is not only channeling Star Wars, but also channeling Seven Samurai.
Well, yes, in fact,
so cool.
the world where it takes place, the farming world, Akira, is based on Akira Kurosawa.
Right.
Now, I don't know if any of you did, but when that film came out, that's when I saw it. I originally saw it in the movie theater when it came out. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I mean, for the one thing about it, it goes, hey, that's the same guy who plays John Boy on the Waltons. That was the big thing for me. But I love look at that time. Space and anything that dealt with outer space, I wanted,
Right.
And this was a great, compelling story. And
it was a time the most expensive Roger Corman film too.
Yeah, and Sean, get this. I know Matt's going to jump all over me. When I saw the film, I had not seen the Seven Samurai. I actually didn't see the Seven Samurai until years later. I'm just saying. So
I'm kidding.
Me, I was like, this is the greatest story.
John Sayles wrote the script, it was a wise idea to do that.
And to be fair, Larry, I don't think at the time I had seen the Seven Samurai because at that time it wasn't. If I remember correctly, it wasn't really that easy to get access to those films.
Yeah, maybe the Z Channel will be showing it.
Right, yeah.
And let's face it, the idea of getting different space people to help, I mean, those space people are all really unique and different. And I thought that was the little aliens that all had to, think the same.
They share the same mind.
And then the hot girl, who's
Sybil Danning.
There's a figure coming out of Sybil Danning's character.
I've already I've pre-ordered it.
Are you serious?
I have already pre-ordered it.
It's Saint X-Mean, I think is her name, but it's great. There's a figure. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's the scale? Is it 12 inch?
No, it's 6 inch, I think.
Yeah. It's 8 inch. It's me.
5'9". Yeah.
It should be 6 feet is what it should be.
That's great. I mean, come on. That's awesome, But that was
removable clothes.
That's a fun film. And, there were, I think in the 80s, there were several movies that, the source of the story, it was a sci-fi movie, but the source, maybe even if loosely, was inspired from a non-sci-fi story or movie. I mean, we talked about it before, but Outland is very much like a space western,
right?
Very much modeled off of Fred Zinnemann's High Noon,
right?
You had Enemy Mine, 1985, Wolfgang Peterson, which is Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. Dennis Quaid is a human, Lou Gossett is a reptilian alien, and it's basically Hell in the Pacific.
Yeah,
as a sci-fi story,
and Hell in the Pacific is a really great movie that stars Toshiro Mifune.
That's right, yeah, and Lee Marvin, yeah. It's like two enemies in a war, and
it's a great movie.
They have to work together.
Great movie.
It's such a great movie.
And that movie, that movie also is, before that movie, there was a movie called None But the Brave.
Right, it's Frank Sinatra directed, right?
Frank Sinatra. It's like the only movie that he ever directed.
That's right. Yeah,
and Clint Walker, platoon of Japanese soldiers stranded on an island. So instead of like with Hell in the Pacific, it's one guy against another guy. It's two platoons. And it's the common theme of that. At first they're antagonistic toward each other, but then they realize that to survive, it's better if they cooperate, and then they develop respect and friendship and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I love Hell in the Pacific.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So
Enemy Mine is good.
It is. It's really good.
I know that some people have an issue there. There's like a birth in it, and I know that some people don't like that.
Though.
I love that.
It's not what you expect. It really adds.
I love that.
You know what, Matt? I just don't understand you sometimes. I just think I expect you to go, oh, I hated that, but I'm surprised.
Larry, I like good. I just like good.
Well done.
That is something I was
schmaltzy.
And it was like, oh, there's a twist.
But it's so great because then you have this one character have to take care of the child of a different species.
By the way, where's the action figure? Where's the action figure of Lou Gossett? Is that reptile? It's a great makeup.
And Lou Gossett, by the way, who plays. So the Enemy Mine story is it's late 21st century. There's an interstellar war that's raging between humans and this reptilian alien race called the Drax. Okay. And so there's this dogfight, and then the human, whose name is Willis E. Davidge, and that's Dennis Quaid. And there's a Drac pilot called Jereba Shigan, and that's Louis Gossett Jr. And they crash land on this planet. And again, it's the same sort of thing where they're trying to knock each other off, but then they end up cooperating and becoming friends. To survive, right? And then you find out, and this is spoiler alert, okay, that the Drac is pregnant, a Shigan.
Their species, they have.
The male has the baby.
Right.
The character of Davidge, before this happens, he is like a Drac bigot. Like he hates them.
Right.
And so by the time you get to this point where he's taking care of this Drax child is, I think, really pretty moving.
Yeah.
You've also got the classic Western Three Godfathers, where you've got these three rugged cowboys suddenly, faced with an abandoned baby that they have to take care of on their journey.
True.
It certainly harkens back to that.
Josh, were you going to say something?
The Drax only had one gender, so that was part of the.
Right. Oh, excuse me. Okay.
They're like both male and female.
We don't want the Enemy Mine people to be sending us.
No, we don't want to piss off the Enemy Mine people. Thank you very much. Yes,
because again, we want correct information. My head is not so big that I'm gonna. No, I want to do correct information. So thank you, Josh.
Wow. So that means that I can do the role playing that I wanted to without turning any heads.
Dream student. So I did homework before this. So I watched Battle Beyond the Stars for the first time since 1983. Wow. I was 9 when I saw it the first time. And I remembered things like, the character that gets buried with dinner because that was his payment.
Yes.
And, again, but I kept wondering, why is that guy so familiar? John Boy. That makes so much sense now. That just blew my mind. But again, that was really well done. And, it's how James Cameron cut his teeth doing a lot of stuff.
It's a slick movie and it's It's also great to see Robert Vaughn playing pretty much the same character as he played in the Magnificent Seven. Like, how awesome is that?
Yeah, you
got George Papard, and I mean, it's a great cast.
So to follow up on Josh's point about Cameron, I believe Gail Ann Hurd was working on it as an assistant to the producer or something, and they were asking Gail about, so how are things going on the set? She goes, well, there's one guy that really seems to knows what he's doing. And that was James Cameron. And that James did more than just the special effects. He actually kind of, because of his personality, kind of said, well, we need to shoot it like this and blah, 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 and actually gave pointers about, I guess, how the actor is supposed to portray or do their scene or something like that. It was very James Cameron.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's also one of the first scores from James Horner. And I think it helped him get the Star Trek II assignment.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, no, it's great. But also, Bill Paxton was a carpenter, and
Norm was smart. He put a lot of people that are good working for him.
Yeah, and he was like the comic relief of the set. They'd be working till all hours, and he would cheer everybody up.
And he was friends with Cameron, and he would always say, "Hey, hey, James, maybe I could do something here. Maybe I could be something on the set or something like that." My understanding is he had become friends with Cameron, and
that's cool.
And I think that's how Paxton got the job of being one of the hooligans at the beginning of Terminator.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blockbuster podcast actually has a really good history of James Cameron, and that talks about Battle Beyond the Stars and its influence on how other people got jobs because of that, and how he and Gail Ann Hurd met because of it as well. So again,
and actually, and Corman got his money's worth from that movie too, because he simply recycled all those effect shots.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
like a dozen other movies afterwards. But
and I think
the music too.
I think most of the money was spent on George Papard, and
I thought it was spent mostly on that shapely spaceship. I mean, I know. I think you guys may see one thing. I see a different thing when I look at that spaceship.
It's balls, right? It's hanging balls.
No.
Is it balls or boobs?
It's hanging balls.
It
looks like a sack, a man's sack.
I see balls,
breasts.
But
it's breasts on a lady of quality.
Okay.
All right.
It's supposed to be boobs.
Wow.
Supposed to be boobs.
Yeah. See, you see, Josh, just to show you. See, that's what you and I see. Sean and Matt, they see something else. There's something going on in their lives.
It's supposed to be boobs.
Right.
But it really is my ball sack.
I want to know what
it's like looking in a mirror.
James, what do you think? Do you look in a mirror? Oh, hey.
It's a Rorschach test. Corman is working with our heads.
True.
I mean, are we talking like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs now with the mirror, or like are you going?
No, that's the opposite. He's hiding his balls.
True.
Okay. This is great. Talking about balls.
Let me ask a question, if it's okay.
Fine.
No. Go ahead, Larry. It's okay. I can wait. No,
I'm done. I'm done. I want to know what your question is.
My question is to Sean. Sean, I believe you know of this movie, and this definitely fits within our topic, and that is a 1977 film called Welcome to Blood City. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah. It's a strange Canadian movie that kind of was trying to do their own version, in a way, of Westworld.
Yes.
Like a virtual reality. These people are being experimented on, so they're like, it's kind of like Matrix or something. They're like sitting down, all wired up, but they're living in this Western town, and Jack Palance is like the gunslinger. It's very strange. It's kind of intriguing though. It's kind of
I like it. It's not a great movie, but it is fascinating.
I don't know. I don't know this one.
Yeah, and it's like these 5 strangers awake, and they find themselves with no memory in this place that is like the Wild West, and they will have to be slaves until they kill a bunch of people, and then that's how you like gain status in this world.
Right.
Ultimately, the more people that you kill, it's going to end up in a gunfight with Jack Palance, who's like the sheriff. Yeah. But it's got
low budget.
It's low budget, but it's got Keir Dullea, Samantha Egger, Barry Morse.
Lots of great Canadian actors. Obviously would never have been made if it wasn't for Westworld, I'm sure. But yeah, it's intriguing. It's probably the only real like Westworld like ripoff or that you can think of, that was made back then. But I mean, Westworld, of course, is a great sci-fi Western hybrid. But also you had, even going back earlier, as far as stop motion giant monsters, you had The Beast of Hollow Mountain.
Oh yeah,
which was first and foremost a Western, but they had a dinosaur in it. And then, but even better, then you had, of course, the Harryhausen film, The Valley of Gwangi in '69, and that was a good, I thought, a really good melding of a Western with Western characters and this kind of lost valley of dinosaurs. I really like that movie.
Yeah, I guess, and we've brought this up on other shows, but it's like, I know that we've had guests on our show who comment about how that's one of their favorite Harryhausen films. And for me, it was always one of those films where it seemed like it took forever. It was like 45 minutes to get to your first dinosaur.
Not compared to Beast of Hollow Mountain.
Well, that one's a train wreck.
That one, doesn't it take you like nearly 65 minutes or something?
Oh, no,
it's a good almost an hour before you even see the dinosaur.
That one is unwatchable.
But I still like the dinosaur when you see it. But it's But
Gwangi, I would agree with you, Larry. I think that it takes an awful long time.
But once you get there,
when they get there,
it's beautiful.
Yes. It really is.
I mean, the whole scene when Gwangi appears, the whole Allosaurus thing, and then the sequence, and I think I love this. How, my God, who thought of putting a dinosaur on the rampage in a church?
Yeah, really.
Matt, when I saw this film as a kid, man, I can't tell you how many times when I went to church, I said, "Damn, it'd be so great if a Tyrannosaurus right now," and just scare everybody. Oh,
please, Mr. Harryhausen.
Because
take your communion before Gwangi comes in.
I mean, I'm one of these kids who, my parents took all 7 kids to church every Sunday.
Right.
Like, God. And I know, and it's sometimes it just seems so tedious and long, and
well, Catholic Mass is pretty long, right?
Well, it's honestly, it's roughly an hour. And,
okay.
But when you're a kid, and
that's
you're trying
an eternity.
It is, and you're trying to listen to the pastor, and sometimes they don't really make sense and whatnot. But damn, after I saw Gwangi, I was like, oh God, that dinosaur. And then I imagine, so if he came in from that door, I would try to plot my escape route.
Oh my God!
Knowing, since there were so many people in the church, knowing
that's
that
hysterical.
The odds of me getting eaten would be small because I know what to do. I'd get under the bench and I'd hide over here, jump into the confessional, which is like closed door.
The minute something crashes through a wall, you run the other way, right? Isn't that?
Well, but see, here's the thing. The thing is at the church that I went to, it was a big church, but it had like these giant double doors that you like in the front. So I always thought, the dinosaur wouldn't come in through the sides because that's like just a one door thing. Mm-hmm. He would come in through the back of the church, kind of like, and it'd just be awesome.
I always felt sorry for that elephant.
Me too.
Yeah, that made me feel a little weepy.
Where Harryhausen instilled a real creature in that.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you're right. I mean, he always did such a great job with giving like real emotion and like life to these things,
That is the death of one elephant. There's another elephant that dies in A Million Miles to Earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think Harryhausen, he was,
hated elephants.
No, he didn't hate elephants. But what he did is he put a lot of passion and care and emotion in all of the creatures that he did, including the elephants. And people would say, gosh, it disturbs me that, this elephant dies so painfully. And he goes, well, that's a good thing. I did my job. That's what he would say.
That's a great impression, by the way.
That's what I remember him saying, because he's trying to make these creatures as realistic as possible.
You need to do a one-man show of Harryhausen.
Instead of my James Mason episode. I should do a Harryhausen.
That should be the warm-up.
Okay.
You are your own warm-up act.
But Josh, you were going to say something, comment about Harryhausen?
I love Harryhausen, so I'll leave it there.
What do you think of that movie?
Which one?
Gwangi.
In a short story I wrote, I made Valley of Gwangi an important part where dinosaurs surface from the center of the earth.
Yes, I read that story.
And there's Valley Angie playing at this film festival, and that's their reaction. It's like, why is the dinosaur naked? Like, so like they're responding to.
Right.
So yeah, again, fun film. I want to go back to Outland. Just
Outland,
briefly.
okay.
I haven't seen that before, and I watched it the other night for the first time, and I loved it. I mean, the
really
high
good,
noon, the sets that they have make it look like it actually looks like a plausible mining operation.
Yeah, mining, right.
Industrial.
Yeah. It does, yeah.
And without going overboard on the special effects. So like they really call their shots well for this bland, like it makes sense people would go nuts or people would be,
well, Peter
experimenting
Hyams,
with it.
Yeah, Peter Hyams is a great cinematographer too. He does photographs a lot of his movies as well. And I thought that was a good film.
That movie, when I first saw it, at that time I was a very big fan of Harlan Ellison. Kind of worshiped the guy. Mm-hmm. And I read this review that he wrote about Outland and how outlandish it was. Outlandish. Woo! Oh, take a drink. But just like all the scientific problems in it, and it influenced me. And then years later, I watched it again, and I was like, I don't care. This is just fun.
It's a popcorn movie.
This is just fun, and this is one where I'm really gonna just go with it. And as you guys were saying, it's just beautiful to look at. It seems like a real environment. It's very well acted all around. Peter Boyle. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I kept thinking there's enough probable cause to arrest Mark Shepard. And I also got a kick out of the name Mark Shepard because, there's a talented actor with that name. So
okay, yeah.
But yeah, again, good stuff. I made a list of some mashups that on some level, like we talked about the idea of like the gunslinger, high noon type situation.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica 1980, the final episode, The Return of Starbuck.
Oh yeah, the only good episode of that series. Yeah.
Yep. So that's one. And
now wait a minute. Hold on. Is this the episode that has the Cylon gunslinger?
The gunslinger's known as Red Eye. I think that's the episode. Yeah, I think because you go. Isn't that? Yeah, because you go back. It tells the story of Starbuck
crash landing. Yeah. And again, there's a little enemy mine because he restarts a Cylon that's left, and eventually the Cylon has a shootout with other Cylons that land.
Yeah, that's true.
But again,
true.
Wow.
I've repressed most of that.
If we're gonna go there, then how about Spectre of the Gun, Star Trek?
Star Trek. Totally.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Totally.
Yeah, go do the mind meld.
Captain Kirk and members of the Enterprise crew are trespassing into Melkoshian space. And
never do that.
Don't do that. Because what'll happen is they'll kill you by creating a reenactment of the gunfight at the OK Corral for some reason.
I hate when aliens do that.
I know, really.
But it's not like they have the gunfight in the OK Corral in their back pocket. It's they read your mind. They try to pick something in history. And some people have criticized that. They go, well, Laird, some of the set pieces are kind of odd. It's actually explained. Spock explains how when they read the mind, they may not have all of the information. So the sets are kind of, or
which was clever. Because that's why they built just the facades.
Matt laughs, but I bought it hook, line, and
it's the one time that works, I think. Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. That's not my problem with it. It's the fact that
what is your problem?
The fact that they couldn't go into your mind and come up with a roof and some more walls for the buildings. Kind of silly, but that's fine. No, that's fine. All of that is fine.
That wasn't important to them. It's like what was important are the people they're supposed to interact with. We're going to have you relive the sequence in history. But as Kirk and Spock learn, they go, it's like at first, history, you can't, history, you can't change history, but they realize that, oh my God, in this environment that we're in, we can.
Right.
And so they have they come up with the various solutions as to how they can overcome this. And I think it's very clever as to how that episode ends. I actually really like that episode. As a kid, I didn't like it. As I got older, I loved it. My
problem is that it seems like a very convoluted way to just execute somebody. It's like, the whole premise seems silly to me. Now, I'm with you, Larry. I mean, I love almost every episode of the original Star Trek, even the third season ones.
Yeah.
But,
me too.
But this one is just kind of silly to me. But I don't hate it or anything.
Yeah.
Another mashup I thought about was one from that kept me sane while I was in law school in the late 90s. Farscape.
And yeah. I really enjoyed that show.
And that's a mashup of a bunch of things that, again, a very diverse universe of characters, from Dargo that kind of has a samurai warrior race story to Zan as a priestess. And again, all over the map. So again, I mean, like, there's no way to do a quick summary other than, you had amazing puppets from the Jim Henson company, and
some of the best alien makeup on human actors. Just so different,
and very successful puppet work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they life is diverse. I mean, like Pilot.
Right. It's like make it completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a series that I felt as it kept going kind of lost its way.
Mini shows, But
I would say the first couple seasons are pretty solid.
Yeah.
And Josh, I was not a guy that followed Farscape. For listeners who are not familiar with it, what is Farscape about?
Oh, I won't do the intro, but we have a NASA astronaut who does an experiment in a small one-man space shuttle that opens a wormhole, and he gets shot across the universe, and he arrives in a space battle. And he's taken aboard the ship named Moya. That's a living ship. And it's a Leviathan that's basically a cargo ship. So it's defenseless. And you have different factions and races. So you have one group called the Peacekeepers that are very dynamic, that are supposed to, we find out later on, should have worked with a group called Peacemakers that kind of go extinct in helping maintain a peaceful galaxy. But since the makers are gone, they're just trying to rule through kind of fear and intimidation. They get a little
kind of Nazi-esque.
Yeah, but you find out they're kind of complex. You have the Scarans, which are another reptilian type race that have a heat ray, and there's a bunch of others. And it's basically trying to survive. And the main character is trying to run away from this hybrid that's a peacekeeper named Scorpius, who wants the wormhole technology. You also end up having like a breeding program done with Moya, and she gives birth to a hybrid peacemaker ship named Talon. And Talon's awesome as a ship with a cannon on it that's a little battleship. So again, it's wonderful. They go through lots of characters. There's real loss. Like beloved characters get killed all the time.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so you watch it, it's just like, damn, I liked that person. And it hurts. So that was something that meant a lot while in law school, because like there wasn't a lot of free time. So when I had free time, that was something that was a mental escape. Deep Space Nine was a mental escape. Yeah, the Peacekeeper War they did as kind of a way to put a bow on the series was well done, and that was 2001 or 2002 when that came out. So
if you're bringing up Star Trek, we got to go back once again to the original Star Trek series for another mashup of World War II and science fiction, and that would be Balance of Terror.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
One of the best episodes of the series.
One of my favorite episodes.
One of the best acted, really, too.
Yeah.
Because this is the episode that introduces the Romulan cloaking device for the first time. Mm-hmm. And you got this cloaked Romulan ship that's destroying Federation ships in the neutral zone. And the ship's commander is played by a pre-Sarek Mark Leonard.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And at this time, we don't know what the Romulans
we have no idea.
When we've dealt with them in the past, it is always just audio, never visual. So we have no idea what they look like. And what I love about that episode is when you find out what they look like, you have this whole racism thing.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
In the episode, which brings up another level of just intensity to the episode. That is such a great episode.
It's so great.
And then you got to ask yourself, how do you battle a ship that you cannot see? And then you got to give Kirk a lot of credit for how to get through this situation. It's a great episode.
It's cool. Yeah.
And so this is very much borrowed from a movie called The Enemy Below. And I believe even the director has said, the director was Vincent McVitie, and that he said that he had seen the movie and that, it was obviously the same story. It's the
submarines, right?
It's submarine, 1957, and you've got Robert Mitchum against Kurt Jurgens. And Kurt Jurgens is this German U-boat commander, and they're trying to find this U-boat. And it's this cat and mouse game that they're playing with each other. And again, it's one of those things where as they square off with each other, they gain respect for each other's ability.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah, they're well matched.
Put on the red record.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
There's so many things to unpack from that episode. That's beautiful storytelling. You get the racist overcoming it. And so, when he makes the comment about ask Mr. Spock, and you have Kirk going, I'm sure just complimenting his abilities, and flat out scolding the dude on the bridge saying, leave your bigotry in your quarters. Right. There's no place for it on the bridge. It's damn.
Yeah.
To the Romulan commander not being happy with what he's doing. Going this what we're doing will start a war.
Yes.
Millions will die.
Right. Yes.
This is bad. We shouldn't be doing this.
But he's a dedicated officer. He's doing what he was told to do.
Right.
And the final communication between them and going with Kirk going you don't have to die. And, the commander, it's not our way. And then another reality.
What purpose does it serve to destroy yourself? And the great line, in another reality, I might have called you friend. Oh God, that's so great.
Yeah, I love it.
Great episode.
Yeah.
Also, you got to give kudos to Mark Leonard, who very successfully and memorably played all three of the classic Trek aliens: Romulan, Vulcan, and Klingon.
Yes,
he played all of them so well. It was really good.
People may not realize Mark Leonard, he is the Captain Klingon in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It's the very first Klingon.
The first time you see that new Klingon look. It's Mark Leonard. It's great.
And he is great. It's a short sequence, but he is terrific.
He
was a great actor. He really was.
Yeah. And, you guys were bringing up the racism part of this. And I was thinking, well, this is a kind of a rare example of in the Star Trek, at least the human universe, where there was racism. And then I stopped myself and I was thinking, well, wait a minute. McCoy is pretty racist.
He's always
he's always saying the most horrible things. You green-blooded, so he's kind of a bigot, and it finally dawned on me that, wow, you had an agenda. I mean, you got over it, but
yeah.
It's there would have been a big HR meeting because of McCoy.
True.
Yeah, but Styles, I'm hoping I'm remembering it correctly. Styles does learn the error of his ways because Spock saves him.
Yeah.
Styles. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pulls him out of, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Yeah. I know better now.
Right.
I'm grown as a person. It's just that's Star Trek.
Yeah.
Being able
but it's done well. Yeah. It's just, it was good.
Another thing about that episode, we kind of forget about this, but at the very beginning, it starts, there's a wedding.
Supposed
to happen. And then when you get to the end,
what luck.
Oh my God. I mean,
the one guy.
Come on. Come on, Sean, that's terrible.
Saved by the skin of my teeth.
I'm just thinking it's great when Kirk says to the woman about it doesn't make any sense, and it's just a great.
Yeah, it's great.
That is such a great episode. It has so many wonderful things, poignant things in it. Mm-hmm.
Well, if talking Western sci-fi mashups, I think has to be one of the earliest examples on film of a sci-fi Western would be from 1935. It was the Gene Autry serial, The Phantom Empire.
Oh yeah.
This is like, cowboy star Gene Autry finds out that apparently under his dude ranch, there's a lost city of Mu where they have death rays and robots and they're trying to take over the world. And so they go underneath and fight. And this one has like the classic square-headed Tin Man kind of robots,
Yes, right.
But that's a whole. It's like a 15-chapter serial, and it's super cheesy, but it's kind of this epic fantasy adventure. It's cowboys versus underground, kind of villains. It's pretty crazy.
And for listeners, if you don't realize this, what Sean just brought up, Gene Autry at that time was a huge star.
Yeah.
The Harrison Ford of his day. And the funny thing, Sean, I believe Forey Ackerman had one of those helmets in his collection, and I got to see it really close. The damn thing, it was made out of a thin cardboard painted with silver paint, and it was just barely holding together.
It's charming though. I want an action figure of those guys.
Where I would get that action figure.
Refresh my memory. Is this robot the one that looks like it's wearing a hat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like a big little pointy nose.
Yeah.
I think they may have recycled the robot too in other movies or serials maybe, but that's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
It's available on Amazon. I'm not familiar with this, but I just added it to my watch list. And buy the season for $10. Sounds awesome.
Josh, it's no Mandalorian, understand? It's a little different.
It's 1935.
Right.
I get it.
It's fun.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Hey, James, do you got one?
From Full Moon, Charles Band in 1994, a movie called Oblivion.
It's on my list.
Right, yeah.
And don't forget the sequel.
Sequel 2 years later, right? Amazing cast, including George Takei, Julie Newmar, Isaac Hayes, Meg Foster, Karel Struiken, and Erwin Keyes. And it's supposed to take place in the year 3031 on this distant planet, but it's basically it's a Western town.
Yeah, it's a complete. Only they use ray guns instead of And Meg Foster's like an android. It's super ridiculous and
it's kind of fun though.
It's fun.
Yeah,
but George Takei really overacts. It also has that actor. I don't know what else she's been in, but Musetta Vander.
Oh yeah, no, I have no idea.
She's just stunningly gorgeous. She's like kind of like the bad girl villainess, and she's in black leather, and she has a whip, and she is.
That's in my queue now.
Yeah, she is fantastic. The sequel has Maxwell Caulfield. He's like this kind of too. Yeah, but he's like this. He's an assassin who's come to, I think, go after the girl. But he's like a dandy. Like he's all nicely dressed, and like he looks like he's dressed like Willy Wonka. But he's like a shapeshifter. Turns into a monster. It's crazy. It's like your classic kind of cheap full moon kind of sci-fi fantasy. But
it's fun. It's really fun.
They are. They are.
Yes. Well, these were both written by an Eisner Award-winning comic writer named Peter David, who had done Star Trek comics.
Love Peter David, and The Incredible Hulk. He had a classic run on
really?
Incredible Hulk. That's brilliant.
Yeah, those are fun films, though.
James, what's the sequel called?
Isn't it called Oblivion 2, The Backlash?
Yeah, Oblivion 2, Backlash. Because Musetta's character is like called Lash or something. She has the whip or something. And
And I sought out these movies because one of my favorite composers had done the scores, Pino Donaggio, but the scores are like not among his best work. But I was like, wow, these movies are actually kind of fun. So it's like,
well, you got to look at, I still think one of the coolest and most unique TV series of the 60s was The Wild Wild West.
Yeah,
that was a great show that I believe, if I remember correctly, finally went off the air and canceled, not because of bad ratings, but because of there's a kind of thing for violence on TV at the time. because it was on several seasons, but that was a great show. That was because it was a good Western show, but it was also sci-fi, and pulp and comic book and just really great. I mean, Robert Conrad and Ross Martin together, fantastic.
I remember there was an episode that scared me even to this day. There's like a comfortable chair that has a knife just comes sticking right in the back. Right. When I saw it as a kid, I always made sure about whatever chair, if it was a big chair, that I never wanted to sit in the big comfy chair.
The comfy chair.
When you were sticking through the middle of it into someone's back.
You just walk into our room and go, "Which one's the knife chair?"
No, I sought out the chair that didn't look as comfortable as big back, so it wouldn't have a knife sticking through it.
Right.
So this was a time when they were still making TV Westerns, but the James Bond craze was really big. So they sort of tried to mash them up.
Yes. And a series that I never really got into, which I kind of want to go back to, is much later in the 90s, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think was kind of like a little bit of Wild Wild West feel or sci-fi, but I kind of want to revisit that because
Me too. Me too.
I heard good things about it.
Yeah.
This was the Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi was a TV series.
It was Sam Raimi produced, I believe. Yeah. With
the horses and I forget because like you, Sean, I remember hearing about it. I knew
it wasn't
Bruce Campbell was,
yeah,
but I didn't want him to. It's like, I don't want to see him on horseback.
But it was like fantasy adventure, sci-fi elements. I think
But I think if I remember correctly, he was asked about doing Army of Darkness, and there's this whole sequence where he has to be on a horse. He's on horses,
right.
And they asked him, "Have you ever ridden a horse?" He goes, haven't you seen Briscoe County Jr.?
Hey, how about this for a mashup? How about a sci-fi biblical mashup?
Ooh.
The 13th episode of Ultraman Ace is called Execution, the Five Ultra Brothers. It's 13 and 14. It's a 2-part episode.
Okay.
But the Ultra Brothers, so it's like Ultraman, Ultra 7, Ultra Zophi, and Ultraman Jack. All the Ultra Brothers, they get notified to gather at this planet called, get this, Golgotha.
Okay.
The planet named after where Jesus was crucified. Now, if that doesn't set off some alarms in your head, I don't know what would. But anyway, so they go, and there's an alien that traps them and crucifies them.
Literally on a cross.
Literally on this planet, you've got these 5 Christian crosses with their names chiseled in on them.
That's amazing.
And so, what happens is that Ultraman Ace manages to escape this, and then he comes back and he saves them. But for most of this 2-parter, they're just chained up, Jesus style, on these crosses.
Yeah.
And in Japan, they don't have like the same sort of Judeo-Christian history that we have in the United States.
Right.
They don't. I mean, when I saw like figures, like little figures of Ultraman on the cross, I'm like, what the fuck?
Well,
this is just wrong.
Not only that, it's like, Matt, I didn't even know about this. I saw the figure for the first time at James's place or James's office, and I looked. I go, "What the fuck?"
I know, right?
Yeah, and I thought, "Is this some cruel game here?"
Ultraman died for our sins.
I know. And when James and I, there was a time when we were celebrating. I think it was your 50th birthday, right, James? And we discovered that there were toys. And so we were almost fighting each other over which one could get and so I've got a bunch of the characters. I don't have the full set yet. I'm missing one, and it's of course the one that James has.
That's the one I have.
But we'll work out something someday before we die. But anyway,
we'll work it out.
But there's a bunch of different. There's like a Gashapon version that you can get, and then there's other ones. But it's so, when I saw that, I was just like, what? And then you find out about culturally they're not quite as sensitive to that sort of thing as we are.
Right, but doesn't mean they're what it means.
Right.
But right down to planning right down to naming the planet Golgotha.
Right.
Wow. There is in the Ultra 7 series, there's a 2-part episode called The 7 Assassination Plan, Part 1 and Part 2.
Here we
go. When Ultra 7 gets captured by these aliens, he's in this clear cross to be executed.
Yeah.
And I watched that not too long ago. It's like, this is messed up.
Yeah.
This is...
I will say this, though.
I have the Gashapon figure of that.
I will say this before anyone starts writing letters or anything. I just want to point out that we need to remember that at the time, during Jesus' time, the cross, that was a form of execution. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So it seems totally logical and rational that in this other world, they did something similar where they created this cross to execute someone. So, get off the high horse here. It's like this is what I went through. At first, I'm like, you get over the shock, and then when you think about it, it's like, okay, all right, it makes sense. And I don't know if I want a toy of it on my shelf, but
I absolutely do. But it reminds me of a Bill Hicks joke, which was that if Jesus ever came back, do you think he would ever want to look at a cross? It's like going up to Jackie O and wearing a pendant of a rifle around your neck.
Right.
I hate to laugh, but you bring up a very good point. Very good point.
Bill Hicks classic.
Did any of you guys watch Carnival Row?
No.
So that was Amazon Prime. They did one season, and then the pandemic hit. And it's this mashup of a whole bunch of things. It's like World War I type technology, but you're in a world that also has mythic creatures, fairies living in it. And
was it good?
I saw the first episode of this. Yes.
It was mixed. I watched it all and I enjoyed it. But the way that they did their spin on religion was it parallels Christianity. And so they have a martyr that they referred to. And instead of, like Jesus on the cross, it's somebody who was hung. And so in their churches, they have like what would be like in a Christian church, like a big crucifix. It's this like model of somebody who's being hung. And it's like, well, that's fascinating because they actually went to the trouble of making a religion that has icons that we could understand and identify with. And again, the show's mixed, but just kind of that fascinating thing to when they start creating a different religion.
For alternate world.
It's funny. I know Matt and I brought this up. There's one of those EC comics from the classics. It's like spaceships, or there's a comic story, and it's about how a spaceman from Earth goes to another planet, and the planet is kind of backwards and stuff, and there are people who are sick and stuff, so they have like their medical kit, and they inject these people to make them become well and stuff, and then he does something which allows the food to replicate or something, and I guess the people who run the place, the people who are in charge, don't like it because all these people are flocking to him, all these poor people are flocking to him, so he gets captured and he gets executed with a guillotine. And something similar, it's like these people start to worship this guy who healed the sick, could feed the poor, and their pendant was the form of execution. It was a guillotine. And so really,
wow.
This was, I think it might.
I don't remember that one. I gotta go through them again.
Might have been Wally Wood or something that was the artist for it. But it was one of those comics that when I read it, I was like, my god!
It's like the mutants worshiping the bomb and Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, Sean,
the holy bomb.
Yeah,
exactly. Another thing to worship because you're,
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, that bomb created them, made them who they were. It is with the little veins. Yeah. Right. Well, guys, this is great. But what do you say we do a lightning round?
Lightning round.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
All right. Well, a couple quick ones. I know that many times Forbidden Planet has been referenced as being kind of loosely based on Shakespeare's The Tempest.
Yep.
Right.
With Prospero the sorcerer being Morbius. That's kind of like definitely those thematic elements are there. Avatar, in a lot of ways, is Pocahontas story.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Battle Royale is a lot like Lord of the Flies in some ways.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with that.
And of course, Larry, I know you like this movie, Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I love that.
The Robinson Crusoe story done in space, but pretty clever, And look, I think Jaws, and especially Orca, are like, the Moby Dick story.
Yeah.
Especially Orca. Orca with the what's his face?
Richard Harris.
And it's very much a Moby Dick syndrome kind of thing.
That's your favorite, isn't it?
I do love Orca, yeah.
Great score. But there's a couple. One film that I haven't seen in a long time, which I liked. I just revisit again from 1982. Time Rider: The Adventures of Lyle Swan.
Oh yeah.
And this was Fred Ward as like this motorcyclist guy who like rides into like the area
time
travel thing. Yeah. And he goes back in time. So he's like this badass motorcycle guy fighting bandits in the old West. That's a pretty fun one.
I never saw that one. I remember when it came out. I passed on it. So
it's kind of fun.
Was it any good? Was it any good?
Yeah, no, it's fun. Pierre Coyote is in it. Richard Mazur. It's one of those films that was co-produced by Michael Nesmith.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. Yeah. Fred Ward is great. This is like Fred Ward in the 80s. He was, it's cool. Anyway, those are mine.
Well, I need to go back to Westerns with an episode of Red Dwarf called Gunmen of the Apocalypse. It is series 6 of Red Dwarf. So the story is Red Dwarf stolen. Lister, Rimmer, Crichton, and Cat are trying to catch up with it. And they're in this ship called Starbug. And then Starbug accidentally wanders into the hunting territory of the rogue simulants, who, as Crichton describes them, Crichton is the mechanoid of the ship. He's like an android. He's like their Data.
Yeah.
He describes them as biomechanical killers created for a war that never took place. And so you've got Starbug and the simulant ship. They get into a space battle, and the simulant ship is destroyed. But just before its destruction, the leader of the simulants infects Starbug with what they call an Armageddon virus. And this locks the ship on a suicide course with this big volcanic moon. And so to solve this problem, Crichton infects himself with the virus in order to create what he calls a Dove antivirus program to counter it. And then he tells everybody, watch his dreams. So they go into his dreams, and now he's fighting the virus in like this Wild West scenario where he has assumed the role of this like burnout sheriff. And the town is called Existence. And so the rest of the crew decide they're going to insert themselves and help Crichton to defeat the virus. So now they're all like these Wild West guys, and they all have a different, ability because it's based on like this video game that they played.
Right.
And they have to fight the Apocalypse Boys. And that's what the virus has become. And they're like these 4 guys that are based on the Riders of the Apocalypse. So you got like a famine, pestilence, war, and death. And so the whole thing kind of goes into like this, again, gunfight at the OK Corral kind of thing. But it's pretty fun. It's funny. And there's some delightfully horrible American accents in it. So that's that's a good one to see. And then there is an episode of Star Trek. Actually, it's a 2-parter. Once again, we got the 2-parters. And the episode is called Chain of Command. Larry, I know that you know this one, right? And it's the one where Captain Picard, he steps down from the command of the Enterprise to go with Worf and Crusher on a covert mission to destroy this Cardassian biological weapons facility.
Such a great episode.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
And he gets captured, and he is brutally interrogated by Gul Madrid, who is played by the great David Warner.
And if I remember correctly, it was the first time there was full-on nudity in a Star Trek episode, or at least filmed it. They filmed Patrick Stewart from behind because to torture him, it's like you make him feel terrible and they take all his clothes off.
Yes, that's right.
Like a scene out of Planet of the Apes with Taylor's clothes. It's the same kind of sequence, but it's a brutal thing the way they do it.
And so where this interrogation goes is to an homage to 1984, the novel 1984 by George Orwell. Yes. And so Gul Madrid is trying to force Picard to believe that he sees 5 lights instead of 4.
Like reprogramming him.
Yeah. And he keeps hitting him and trying to get him to get to this place where he says, I see 5 lights. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give away the end, but it is great. It's a wonderful episode. The interplay between Patrick Stewart and David Warner is just magnificent.
They're so good, Matt. They're so good.
And you've also got a really good performance by Ronnie Cox as Captain Jellicoe, and he's the by-the-book tight-ass captain who
that's right. I forgot
Picard on the Enterprise. Yeah, so it's a terrific episode.
Yeah.
And then finally, I want to end with this is one you may know of, you may not, but I have episodes of this on 16 millimeter. I'm talking about the animated cartoon Rocket Robin Hood.
Which, I haven't thought of that in ages.
Yeah. It was a Canadian animated series, ran from 66 to 69. And so it features all the same characters from the original Robin Hood legend. So you got Little John and Friar Tuck and Will Scarlet and Maid Marian. Wow. But then there's like a scrappy, like Gabby Hayes type camp cook called Giles. And they live, I'm quoting now, in the astonishing year 3000 on New Sherwood Forest asteroid. And they have to, battle the evil machinations of Prince John and the Sheriff of Not. So it's like an acronym, which is National Outer Space Terrestrial Territories.
Nice.
See, yeah. And so, they've got a spaceship and they fight with weapons like the electro quarterstaffs. Isn't that clever? Cool. And, it's fun. I have a bunch of these on 16. I enjoy them so much. It's ridiculous. But there's also, and this could be me just seeing something that's not there. I don't know. I think there might be a little bit of a homoerotic thing going on there.
I don't remember seeing that as a kid, but I'll have to revisit. Yeah. I'll have to come over and watch one of those. Literally, Matt, I haven't thought of that in ages. I can't believe you brought that up.
Yeah.
Matt, real quick, and you said you brought up Red Dwarf. I thought you were also going to mention the episode of The Prisoner, Living in Harmony.
Oh yeah,
that's a great sci-fi.
That's a great one.
It takes place in Western Town.
Yeah, totally forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Well, there's a lot of subgenres that sci-fi crosses over into, and one of them is the war movie. And I'm thinking of titles like Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah,
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes,
certainly Aliens.
In Groundhog Day, too, yeah.
Independence Day and Rogue One, which more than any other Star Wars movie, maybe because it's got this whole sort of beach climax at the end, reminds me of Iwo Jima.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of science fiction sports a few science fiction sports crossovers, like Rollerball, Death Race 2000, Real Steel with Hugh Jackman.
Right.
There's a lot of Twilight Zone episodes that get, some are sports and some are Western, and they go all over the place.
Right.
A couple of fairy tales like Spielberg's AI, which is a retelling of Pinocchio. If it had been closer to Pinocchio, it might have been more entertaining.
Yeah. Really.
The Sci-Fi Channel in 2007 did a take on The Wizard of Oz called Tin Man, with Zooey Deschanel, Richard Dreyfuss, and Alan Cumming. And I actually kind of enjoyed that because it was just a take on, I'm not saying it was great, but I enjoyed sort of a different take on what is such a familiar story.
Right.
And back to Westerns, just got to mention Back to the Future 3, which is not one of my favorite movies, but there it is, sci-fi Western.
It actually works well, though, as a Western, too. That movie.
Well, it's at least better than Back to the Future 2, which was just pointless. And
pointless, really.
Back to the Future 2, yes. It's just a retread of the first movie. It was pathetic. I'm not a fan of Back to the Future 2. And finally, as much as I'm a Stephen King fan, I have to say I'm not a fan of his Dark Tower series. Multiple books that go into this alternate universe called the Territories, many of which have a sort of a spaghetti Western environment and a gunslinger. The hero of the whole series is a gunslinger. And I've tried over and over again to get into these books. I know a lot of King fans are avid fans of this series. I have just not been able to get into it. I find it very dry. For some reason, I'm not into the Dark Tower series, but the first film flopped, The Dark Tower, with Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba. Unfortunately, otherwise they probably would have gone on to make the whole thing. I didn't see the movie. I don't know who did, but
neither did I.
No.
Yeah, there you have it.
Hey, James, did you ever enjoy the Firefly series?
Never saw it. Never got into it.
Because of course that's space Western drama right there.
Yeah. Really well done, character-driven stuff. Yeah.
Joss Whedon?
Yeah. Only one season, but really good.
Hey, Josh, tell us about Firefly.
It's a wonderful allegory for how contract law works. So, because everything
wow.
That's how Josh Whedon pitched it to the network, actually.
And then they told the stories out of order. But basically, they're constantly looking for work. So it's offer, acceptance, gunfight. And so it's like, it's not perfect contract law, but it's basically about performing jobs that they get, which is all about contracts. Right. So the premise is it's 500 years in the future. Earth was used up, so we migrated to another solar system far away, and there's inner core planets and outer core planets, and there was a civil war between the outer core planets feeling they got screwed, and Nathan Fillion plays the lead of Malcolm Reynolds, who was a brown coat, and they lose the war, and he's kind of bummed out about that. So he buys a ship called Serenity, which is a Firefly class cargo ship. Mm-hmm. And it's about he and his crew and passengers they take on doing odd jobs. And it was wonderfully creative.
Yes.
And I did a blog post early on the Legal Geeks about the contract law issues. And it was one of the first posts that we did that really blew up because of, there's some very devout Firefly fans. And
picked such a following that it got a movie.
Right.
And which did a decent job of tying things up, and they there've been some comics that followed up afterwards as well.
Yeah.
I love Serenity. I thought Serenity was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, it's a wonderful film. Again, early 2000s. The movie was 2005, if I remember right. Others that I put down for lightning round. There's a Star Wars Rebels episode called Twin Suns, which is where Darth Maul, who's upset about being cut in half, finds out that Kenobi's on Tatooine and goes to face off. And the face off is like full on samurai movie. And Kenobi dispatches it with him in one blow.
Wow.
And it's glorious. And you can tell that it's like the samurai influence that it had.
But wait, I'm sorry, Josh, Darth Maul is cut in half. How does he come back?
Clone Wars is the answer. And his brother finds him living on a trash planet because after he fell down that big
chasm
chasm vent, whatever. He used the Force to stay alive, and he fashioned himself like robot spider legs, and he went insane. And eventually he gets his mind back and becomes a criminal mastermind.
Well, he has no testicles, so
that
happens.
I mean, I would be very upset too. So
his testicles later became the ship from Battle Beyond the Stars.
Ironically, he became the captain of that ship.
Exactly.
To compensate for.
There was a show on in 1987, I remember from my youth, called The Highwayman, which
was that Sam Jones?
Yes, it was.
And what was that? It was like Truckers meets Road Warrior or something.
Yeah, it's near future, and think like advanced vehicles, kind of like in the spirit of Knight Rider with the tech that they have. But they're also like leather-clad bounty hunter. Right. Marshall types. And again, I haven't seen it since 1987.
I'd be curious to see that again. Yeah.
But again, that's something that haunts my dreams.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
I would also throw out The Last Dragon, which was a martial arts film mild black exploitation.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
So again, it's that fusion
80s?
of it was like also mid 80s.
Yeah.
So again, I'm thinking of stuff from my childhood.
Sure.
And to throw out a Next Generation, there was a holodeck episode called "A Fistful of Datas," where
that's right. Yeah.
Where Worf, Alexander, and Troy are trapped in a holodeck program, and Data tried integrating with the ship's computer, and things didn't go well. And so all of the holodeck characters are Data, and Worf has to have a shootout with an evil Data character, and also fight off the advances of the prostitute Data. So
Wow.
It's the complex episode. A lot to sure they had a lot to think about. So.
Nice one, Josh. Nice one.
Larry, do you have any?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you guys are so well versed in
that. We covered a lot. Yeah.
We covered a lot.
Everything that I had, we covered. So I feel like
good.
Yeah, yes, Sean. Yes. I guess my stuff is more surface stuff. It's stuff that you guys. Well, obviously that.
But
I didn't have
I'm sure if we thought about it, though, there's more we could come up with easily.
Oh there's always going to be more. Yeah, for sure.
And then we could do the horror version of this too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
totally.
Well, this has been great.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Josh, thank you so much for being with us
You
tonight.
return in style, Josh.
The return and debut of Josh Gilliland.
Now, Josh, I'm gonna maybe go out on a limb here. Now, I know that because of COVID and stuff, many convention stuff have been canceled, but I know that with your Legal Geeks podcast, you've actually done panel discussions at conventions. Are you planning to do anything like that in the future?
Yes. So we've done at WonderCon, we did a Star Trek panel, and that was a ton of fun to do. Last year for Comic-Con, we did a Ultra Lawyer Kaiju Patrol, and we did a spin on the Class A uniforms from the Science Patrol and Ultraman. Got the pins, the blue blazers. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
And we've pitched some panels for the virtual Comic-Con this summer. And I'll say what I want to pitch for the Thanksgiving Comic-Con that's supposed to be Comic-Con special edition. I really want to do the Jaws mock trial. I want to do the civil lawsuit against the town of Amity for tax.
And what's so great is what you do is you take these films or these TV series or movies or whatever, and you say, what were the real legal problems here? What would actually happen if
you apply
analyze
real life
legally?
Legal questions.
And Josh, if I remember correctly, you did a panel and you had a real judge on panels.
We've done it a couple times with real judges doing a mock trial. So we did one based on Luke Cage, where on how to prove his actual innocence. We did a court martial of Poe Dameron for getting everyone killed in The Last Jedi.
Oh.
And yes, he was, and yes, he was guilty. And we did at Comic Fest, we did a competency hearing for Frankenstein's creature.
Ooh,
and
nice.
And before the pandemic, so this was like the last weekend before everything shut down in March 2020 at Comic Fest, San Diego Comic Fest, we did the Mandalorian guardianship hearing with him, doing a petition for guardianship of Baby Yoda.
Oh, that's
and because in California law, the parent has to be 10 years older than the child that they're adopting.
Yes. Okay.
So with the child being 50,
right?
So it'd be guardianship,
right.
And
who's guarding who?
And we had the court designated the child Baby Lucas, and we had a wonderful cosplayer play the Mandalorian, and it was the arguments were bitching, like they just the law students who helped that one were so good. So we had the best live panel of 2020.
Wow.
Nice.
Like, I just want to say, if people haven't checked out the Legal Geeks, just if you go to the podcast and you can get information as to what stuff is coming up for Josh and his team, because to see you and these real judges in action talking about either science fiction or fantasy or horror. I mean, it's just great.
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's informative. It's just a really good time.
Yeah, and here you have lawyers and judges who are actually talking about fun stuff.
Yeah.
But dead serious about the law. And that's what makes it so
great
special.
practice. Yes, great practice grounds for that. I mean, it's just a great way to learn law.
Yeah.
Well, then it's like, here's something funny to think about. Kids who spend lots of time reading and like maybe watching Star Wars movies or Star Trek grow up and become lawyers. And that's been happening for decades.
Yeah.
And there's some brilliant legal minds on the bench who love these shows, who love these movies, or can hold a in-depth conversation about comics and specific characters, right? And it's, there's like everyone works hard, like no matter their job, people work hard, but to have something that you love that gives you joy, that you can watch with your family or friends or talk about with others, that's there's meaning to that. And all this, I mean, in the past 14 months, it's been the pop culture that's helped keep everybody sane.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate for what we do, and there's so many wonderful lawyers and judges that we text back and forth or call each other, and it's just, or we did a Secret Santa this past Christmas where one judge sent another judge a Grogu pillow. And so again,
like the long anime ones, or what are we talking about?
It's like, it's impressive. It's like torso size pillow.
Oh, so it is then. Okay, good.
And like the judge loved it. So again, that sort of thing, which is just, like I do toy shopping for other lawyers as gifts. It's a wonderful world.
So once again, where do we find the Legal Geeks?
So thelegalgeeks.com, and on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at The Legal Geeks on all those social media handles. And you can check us out. We got a law student who's blogging about Attack on Titan and Neo Genesis.
Cool. Wow.
And it's like stuff that I haven't gotten into. We have a bunch who love Star Wars. I love kaiju as well, because that's a rich target area to talk about.
Oh yeah.
I've been like starting last year. We started with Ultra Q and Ultra Man and Ultra.
Oh, great!
Nice.
So there's fun stuff there to mine.
But there are plenty of episodes of Legal Geeks that people can check out, right?
Yeah,
and then you will be doing new ones.
Yeah, we're I think around 300 now. Like we are.
Wow,
nice.
How long are your episodes? How long?
They range anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour and a half.
Oh, so they're not like 2 or 3 hours of solid information like in our shows.
Wow.
No,
we were so close.
Had to go.
We were so close to you.
Wait a minute.
Getting out of this classy.
I'm just saying.
Wow. Always has to be a fight.
It's
always got to be us better than you.
Apples and oranges.
99% of them are over an hour. I occasionally I'll do one like, is the TARDIS a common carrier? And, talk about that for 10 minutes. So, but like we just did one with Charles Hildebrandt, whose father, Tim Hildebrandt, was the artist for the famous Star Wars.
Hildebrandt brothers. Yeah.
So this is the son, who's an IP lawyer in DC.
Wow.
And great guy. And we had a rip-roaring discussion about when he saw Star Wars 2 weeks before it opened.
Wow.
And he technically was one of the first kids to see it.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what we do. And we got, there is.
That sounds good, right, Larry?
It sounds great, Matt. Great.
I say we raise our glasses to Josh and Legal Geeks.
Yes.
Indeed.
Well, Josh, thank you so much. Let us toast to Josh Gilliland, the Legal Geeks, and Sci-Fi Mashups.
Woo!
Yay. Cheers.
Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out.
This goes out to Ronald Petty from Madison, Ohio.
Woohoo!
Ronald Petty.
Hey.
Ronald is a proud owner of a Monster Party t-shirt.
Cool.
Hey.
Oh my me.
Ronald writes, I'm a Patreon member too, and I lost 135 pounds in the last year.
Wow.
Yay.
And this t-shirt is an early gift to myself when I can fit into it.
Nice.
Great
That's
job,
great.
great
Right.
job,
Is that
man.
amazing?
Congratulations. That's incredible.
Huge. It's huge, man.
It is
Great
awesome.
job.
Also to Jacob Bescher from Tucson, Arizona, who's the proud owner of a Monster Party PPE mask, a cloth
right,
mask.
Jacob.
Nice choice. And even
Yes.
when the pandemic is over, you can kind of wear that as underwear or something like that.
No.
Yeah.
See, the funny thing is you guys forget when we went to Japan, people out of politeness, if you have allergies, if you have a cold, people would wear masks.
Right.
As Matt has said, even with the pandemic maybe going away eventually, guys, you could still get this mask and you could use it for other things.
Right.
And you never,
right.
you never know, you could end up being a surgeon. You know?
Right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
My sister has worn her Monster Party mask delivering babies. So, hey, the first thing the kid sees when Monster Party.
Yeah.
Imprint as early as possible.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And I would like to give a shout out to a beloved teacher of mine from elementary school. Her name is Susan Rowan, and she was my language arts teacher. And she was a real positive force in my young life. And she put me on a good path. And I've been friends with her ever since. And I see her when I used to do comedy shows, she would show up, and we've been in touch, and we're friends on Facebook. And she's just a lovely person. She's also a writer. She wrote a book called How to Work a Room, which is sort of a staple when it comes to, that kind of material. And she's lovely.
Oh.
And so I'm going to give yet another toast to Susan Rowan.
Right.
Susan.
And Matt, I'd like to give a little shout out. This is maybe a more somber one. I'd like to give a shout out to someone who we just lost. That's Billy Hayes. She was 96 years old.
Oh.
Billy Hayes
wow.
played Witchy Poo on HR Puffin Stuff and Weenie the Genie in Lidsville. Guys, I loved these two shows as a kid.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, she really made those shows too.
I worked with her on a pilot.
No way.
I did. Yeah, she was
cool.
so sweet.
Well, the amazing thing is she did a lot of stuff. She did a lot of voiceovers. She did a lot of acting in a variety of shows like The Monkees and stuff. But I'll always remember her as Witchy Poo in HR Puff and Stuff, which I absolutely loved. She had an amazing life, 96 years old. God love her. I want to shout out, toast to you, Billy Hayes.
Fantastic.
Yes, indeed. And guys, we have a review. We have a new review.
Hey,
all right.
This comes from Emu Hater, who writes, "This is fun and all, but monsters are real. These fine fellows have a swell time chatting it up about Draculas and lagoon creatures, but they have yet to bring up the true monsters of our reality, emus. I survived an encounter with one of these bloodthirsty beasts, and let me tell you, they are more frightening than any monster of Piedras Blancas. Thank you very much."
Wow, that's great.
Thank you, Emu Hater.
Yeah.
Thanks
for the warning.
Yeah, if you get the wrong emu, I can understand.
Yeah,
that's great.
And let's also again, remind our listeners that Monster Party swag is still available on our eBay store, which is Monster Party Store. We still have our glow-in-the-dark logo T-shirts in some sizes still available, and the Monster Party PPE mask, as I mentioned. And shipping is still free.
Which is stupid, which is totally stupid, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it anyway. Okay.
Yeah. And if you're a Patreon member, you get tons of free stuff with your purchase.
That's right. You get extras that come from Jason Lindsay and Biff Bang Pow Toys, And
you also get some stuff from Foam Fabber, Ted Haynes, who was a guest on our show, of a Creature Monsters episode.
That's right.
He's an amazing, talented artist, and his Instagram is Foam Fabber, and he's given us some great little gifts to put into the Patreon goodie bag.
And you might even get a couple extra things from my own personal collection.
Wow.
Ooh. So what is this Patreon? What's that all about, Matt?
If you join Patreon, this is a site where it allows you access to bonus features. So you would
go to
bonus audio, bonus video. For example, Larry Stroth has his own bonus show on Patreon where he displays his collection.
I'm sure you listeners have been asking, what kind of stuff does Larry have? Well, guys, I'm showing you. But hey, we'll all be showing you stuff that we have.
That's right.
It's just for you, got Patreon.
Patreon only.
Exclusive.
Wow.
Yes. Now, you might think that to get access to this kind of treasure is going to cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Priceless.
But no, it only costs you $5 a month. One tier, $5 a month. Nothing.
You can't buy a piece of Mandalorian armor for that.
No, no. Yeah, you can't even get the Mandalorian paint.
No. So
$5 well spent. It opens up the world of Patreon for you. All you got to do is go to patreon.com, find Monster Party, click the join button, and follow the instructions, and you're in.
And look, not only do you get this great bonus stuff, but you're also supporting Monster Party.
Absolutely.
You're helping us create more stuff for everyone to enjoy.
Indeed.
And, hey, let's remind everybody that you can find us on Facebook at Monster Party TV. YouTube is also Monster Party TV. Our Twitter handle at Monster Party HQ. Instagram is also Monster Party HQ. And listen, if you're like Emu hater, you definitely want to write us a review or warn us about the real monsters out there.
That's right.
So please do
like
so.
llamas.
Oh, you don't want to run into one of those. And we will read it on the air.
Yeah. Even if it involves emu bashing.
That's right.
Bring it. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
Keep America strong.
And watch Sci-Fi Mashup films and TV.
And anything with Aunt Beru.
Aunt Beru, are you trying to seduce me? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present the awe and mystery and the black screen that is Larry Stroth. Now, if this only could be how the episode goes, it's just Larry's name in a box, no sound, calm. Oh, there he is. Hi.
Hi.
Hi there.
Howdy.
Hey.
Howdy.
How's everyone doing?
Oh, we're doing great.
Good.
Every day in America just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, people are getting their shots, and pretty soon we'll get this thing taken care of.
Yeah, I got my shot. I got my second one.
Same here.
How'd you feel afterward?
I was really the next day I was really tired. I was very sleepy.
I was screwed up a little bit for the following 2 days.
Screwed up how?
Like felt, that kind of feeling that you get where you feel like you're going to get sick, but you don't.
Yeah.
Like on the cusp of like, oh, am I about to come down with something?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
I got my second Pfizer on Monday. And
Pfizer, get you.
I know. I left work early to take a nap. But I felt all right today.
Good.
So,
yeah, I got Pfizer too. I didn't feel anything. It's a sore arm.
But you don't feel, but you've stopped feeling things.
That's true.
That's not anything different.
I wanted to feel something.
You stopped feeling a while ago. I was listening to our last show.
Yeah, me too.
And it was like James, you don't like anything right now. It's like, what's happened?
No, he does. He likes certain things. I from what I can ascertain, he likes my movies about kid detectives.
Kid detective. Kid detective.
Look, my standards just happen to be high. I don't know.
Wait, high?
Yeah, I think so.
And I still think you guys are all just way too hard on Godzilla versus Kong.
No, you know what? Since our episode, I'm even more furious at it. Here's where James and I can maybe bond.
See, because I love it even more. The more I thought about it, the more I just enjoyed it more.
You know what? Ken Daly listened to our episode, and he was furious. He was just like, that piece of shit.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Karate Kid. Okay. He's so great.
Was only in it.
Well, I want to know what the lawyer thinks. Says before
he has a name, Larry.
I know.
Don't be a dick. Because I'll just call you the dick from now on.
So Matt knows this. You guys don't. So I
don't know this.
He's about to tell you.
I was in the hospital at the end of March, beginning of April, and it premiered or went live on HBO while I was in the hospital. So I watched it on my phone in my hospital bed in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep since I was so uncomfortable. And it was a really nice mental escape from where I was.
Mental escape is a perfect description of that movie.
And he was probably
leave your mind at the door. All of it.
He watched it on a little phone, Matt, and he was drugged, at the hospital.
It sounds like the only way to watch it.
There was no medication. But I was a gallon low on blood. And
so lose a little blood.
But the human stuff did annoy me because it's like there was clearly a ton of editing on that side.
Josh, I want to jump in. Annoy you?
Hey, he can be a little annoyed, and that's fine.
Just annoyed?
Yes.
Not bored, stiff?
No, because he likes people. He likes seeing people engage with other people.
So, if I'm watching a movie that involves people engaging, that's good. That is your... You know what? Maybe James does have higher standards here.
Yes.
Yeah. That he needs more than just people showing up. Have you ever watched a really shitty like B movie? Like the Creeping Unknown that has like the carpet thing, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Or like Robot Monster, one of these things where it's just so bad, a Larry Buchanan movie. Sure. And you're like, okay, there's a bunch of people on screen here. You know what that means? That means they all showed up. And the crew. And like everyone kind of looked at each other and went, this is what we're making?
No. I'm willing to bet you that's not what people.
Now, I'm sure that's not what happened on Kong. I'm just saying that we need a higher standard than just people showing up. All right, Josh.
Let's let the lawyer talk.
If you call him the lawyer one more time, Dick.
So is he not a lawyer? Is he not a lawyer?
I am, but
it's out of respect.
He does have a no. It's not. He has a name.
Josh, the lawyer.
Thank you. So now let the lawyer talk.
I didn't. The Josh in that film infuriated me. He was just an insult to all of us. So he was like virtually neutered and just used for a van and completely useless to the plot. So I personally was insulted on that level.
The actor.
The attorney.
But that guy actually has chops. He can act. So like they gave him nothing to do. The other thing that drove me nuts, why was Eleven and her dad living in Pensacola? What the hell was that for a plot point of they just happened to live near Apex? Yeah, or the idea that a Hyperloop was made from Pensacola, Florida to Hong Kong. And I did the math. The distance, like in order to get there within 12 hours, they'd have to be traveling at 750 miles per hour. That's insane. Plus all the zoning issues that you would have and crossing that, So again, it's again, if you don't think about it.
If you attack, sorry, Sean, just want to catch you up here. We're back to Godzilla versus Kong. And apparently the real horror of that production was all the zoning problems that weren't addressed in the script.
I just think
but wait, I thought that was
harsh.
I thought that was based on a true story though, that film.
Well, Josh brings up a really good point.
No, there is a Hollow Earth.
Imagine all of the zoning. I mean, Josh, I bet you watched it from beginning to end. You're like, oh my God, the legal stuff on the mountain. Oh, and then how many lawsuits are going to be? I mean, so let's say if Kong was in an environment, Kong gets out and Kong makes a mess. I mean, if you spend everything you have on this little house and it gets crushed by Kong, I mean, are you going to say, well, so much for that? Or you're going to try and sue someone, right?
I started a blog post about suing Apex as a class action lawsuit because they built Mechagodzilla, which then attracted Godzilla to Hong Kong. And again, there's liability there, and there's the deep pocket plus the deep hole in order to go sue.
Deep hole, huh? Nice.
And don't you think, if you're a big company and you're spending all this money on this giant technical big monster thing, you know, I'm sure there's got to be a meeting where they say, get in a room, they go, okay, now liabilities, guys, now we got to get some immunity here or something, you know, like the government, or right?
You would think, or it's just billionaires run amok, which also could be the real monster.
Yeah, all the corruption from every angle. Everybody working in tandem.
So all of that flaws aside, the fight in Hong Kong with Godzilla and Kong.
It was fun. Yeah, no, I like that. I said it before.
It was fun.
I said it before. I thought that was fun and I liked it. Could we get right to that?
More than 20 minutes. There was plenty of fight.
Fine.
That was beautiful. And the tag team against Mechagodzilla was just super great. Bitchin'. Like that was the nerd went brain of.
Did I need the first hour and a half of the deaf girl signing to Kong?
Hey, we learned
you're the last of your kind. Come with us to the Arctic without a jacket.
That's real. He's furry. He has a fur jacket.
Seemed cold to me.
Like your dog or your cat.
Yeah. And do you take a wet gorilla who's been rained on the entire trip there and then put him in the Arctic and go, he'll warm up?
Well,
do some jumping jacks.
He's got thick skin. You know, I'm sure he could survive.
You're kind of an asshole. I don't want you to be. I don't want you in charge of any Kong expedition because you're going to kill Kong.
No.
Well, he's fine. He's got a natural fur coat.
Well, I'm not going to send him into a lava pit.
What a guy!
It's funny on the Matt to Larry scale. I'm somewhere in the middle. So
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. Like it's funny. It's funny because I watched Kong Skull Island again recently and realized like that is a better film because that movie actually is human character driven.
Yeah,
you know, Kong is not the monsters are not the stars of the movie. You have, I mean, at least they're trying. Like you have Samuel L. Jackson, who's like, you know, he got put out of Vietnam, but he wants to keep fighting, so he finds a new enemy in Kong. You got John C. Reilly, who's like been stranded on the island and wants to get back. And John Goodman, who like determined to like find these monsters. So at least the weird thing about that movie was that, you know, there's so many human characters and they all had the little backstory and arcs, but there's no one person to focus on specifically. The focus kept changing for the characters, but at least that was like, again, it was a character-driven monster movie, and it was about the humans, and I like that. That really is a superior movie. But I still enjoyed though Godzilla versus Kong.
The part that I can't understand here, that it wasn't maddening to get to that point at the end, that it wasn't like it didn't drive you insane to sit there and watch 10 minutes of shitty jokes and dialogue and character banter. Like, fuck, let's go. I know, Sean, you said that the pacing was better. Like, I don't think
compared to the other two movies. I'm not saying it's a pillar of great movie pacing. Compared to the previous two Godzilla films from this franchise, I thought it was better.
And this is the problem that we're having, I think, is that we're trying to compare this one to the other two, which are even worse. And so where do you go? Like, and again, that's why I say overall, this thing is a fail. You know what? I just recently watched Derek Robertson, the lovely Derek Robertson was here with his family. And I showed them Shin Godzilla.
And he was on our Star Wars episode.
He was, yes. And
I have his artwork on my wall.
There you go.
Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that.
He's a lovely man.
In 1988, at John's Comic Connection, that's where Derek would go and do commissions, and that's where I shot.
And you got one
as a kid. Yeah, and so that's an original. So
wow. I gotta share that with him.
Hold on to that, buddy.
Yeah.
Hold on to that.
And he just recently did a new Hellblazer book, a John Constantine book.
Cool.
And so he's keeping busy and, the boys and everything else. But he saw where I showed the family Shin Godzilla and they fucking loved it. And I loved it. And I thought that maybe seeing it for maybe the 10th time now that I was going to be maybe a little bored. And it gets better to me. Like, it's just great. Well, and the one thing wait a minute, hold on. Let me just say one thing. And the one thing I really like about it is that the one thing that it was able to do that those other Godzilla movies couldn't do is they made a Godzilla movie that has no real central character. There is no real main character.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And they make it work. And it feels more human and real. And I'm interested in the human stories.
Yeah.
And yet this one.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what Kong Skull Island was trying to do too, but I think Shin Godzilla did it better. I mean, and of course, because that's a new Godzilla movie from Japan. Yeah, so of course it's going to be superior.
Yes, Josh.
My brother and I were discussing it, and he raised the point of like, why can't they make a good human characters in a kaiju movie? And I said, have you seen the Heisei Gamera movies? And he went, no. And I said,
they do a pretty good job with those. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The Gamera movies are great.
Yeah, or Matt pointed out Monster Zero. So like it can be done. And with the amount of money that they throw at the script, write a damn good story. So the movie made me happy. I have a blog post on export control licensing that's nearly ready to go live. And but I'm disappointed, but I love that fight. And that
at least they're keeping
I'm not disappointed.
Keeping the Godzilla movies alive.
Yeah,
I want to get. I think Cormac McCarthy should get in there and write a screenplay for a Godzilla movie. That'd be awesome.
Look, whoever writes the next one, it's what I think everyone would agree, Josh, is however you felt about the first one, not the 1998 version, but within this MonsterVerse, the first one, you didn't see Godzilla very much. It was a tease. The second one, you saw more monster action. This one, lots of monster action. You can't go backwards. Whatever film comes after this, it's got to be at least equivalent or even more monster action. We even joked, why do you even need the human characters? Just have it constant monster battle, you know? And
might have something there.
Having it in Hong Kong, I think James brought this up. It was just gorgeous. It's just so beautiful. Just the neon lights, the buildings, the structures, and just how Kong moved around, and even how Godzilla moved. It was just spectacular.
Maybe it's time to get a little silly too. Maybe have a little fun. Bring in some aliens or some shit. Just hey, it's a fantasy after all.
But that's why I think they're slightly trying to do with this last one. But they should go all out and just go gonzo with it.
But I will disagree with Matt to the point when he says it's a fail. It is not a fail. I think people
as an entire film, it's not whole film. It's not a fail.
No, it is not. It is not a fail. It is not.
That's unbelievable.
And I enjoyed it. I had fun.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, sure. Some of the human stuff was a little goofy. I loved all the sign language stuff. And my daughter, it's funny, Matt. I told my daughter, I go, we got in this conversation and Matt just said he hated it. And she's all, he's so stupid. And then she went off on you. And she
I'm not, look, I can handle,
no, she can't wait to see
personal insults are a little hurtful. I wouldn't call her stupid, even though I disagree with her.
I'm just saying.
But I think that when it comes to maybe it's aimed toward her, let's just say it's aimed to people who love life and enjoy Fuck
joy.
You. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Let's love life. Fuck you.
Yeah. It doesn't appeal to those cynical, homebodies who just who just spit vitriol all day.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
Sean,
I love life, and I don't like to. I love life, and I don't like to waste it on a bunch of shitty, fucking, stupid dialogue, dumb jokes, and a one-note deaf girl.
And this is what happens when you are a comic genius. I will admit, Matt is
comic genius. Well, now we're back.
He's a very
Mr. Comic Genius.
Now wait a minute.
No. I have the floor.
I'm stupid, but you called me a comic genius, so you win.
Matt is a very funny guy, and he's specialized in making very intellectual, funny jokes. So when jokes don't work well in a movie theater, he's all poo.
It's not just jokes, though. It's everything.
I'm just.
It's not. I don't care about any of it.
I'm sure we have to start a tangent podcast just called "We Hate Godzilla Movies." I just do that every week as well.
I'm not going to be a part of that, but
yes, you will.
It's like
I force you. I insist.
The jokes guy, and I'm sure Josh, being the lawyer guy, I'm sure when you see films that deal with lawyers, you go, "Oh, that stupid lawyer! Oh, I'd never do that."
At least, and that's what he hated about the movie. And of all, the one, look, at least you called him the lawyer guy as opposed to just the lawyer. Why don't you just call him the law?
On that note,
we should start this.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was about to, in the before times, I went to a Godzilla film festival in San Francisco, and they had King of the Monsters play, and then they had the director Michael Dougherty speak afterwards, and that was, Dougherty was really great with the questions.
Mm-hmm.
T.J. Storm, who was the motion capture actor for Godzilla, taught kids who were there how to walk like Godzilla. It was freaking adorable.
Nice. Isn't that neat?
That should have been the Godzilla movie.
It was really fun. So while the current movies aren't perfect, I enjoyed them. Aren't. I mean,
well, what
they never will be perfect.
Can we all agree that the first one, especially, now this I need to know before we start the show. The first one is an unmitigated piece of shit.
Yeah, that pretty much sucks.
Aside from 5 minutes of some Godzilla action, the movie as a whole is a giant dud.
No, I am not going to say that. I remember.
How can you not say that?
Don't you think the plus sides of the movie are far outweighed by the bad aspects of that movie?
See, I think you guys forget about the time when the film came out, the build up, and it's kind of like
looking at
it comes down to the movie itself without any kind of subjective approach. Look at the movie itself. That's where I agree with Matt completely. That movie sucked.
Well, I would say the 1998 one sucked.
That sucked too.
That sucked too.
But
why are you so worried about, why do you have to defend it? We know Godzilla more than anybody else.
I liked it, Sean. That's why I liked it.
What did you like about it?
What did you like? That's what I want to know.
Other than the 5 minutes of Godzilla on the screen, what did you like about it?
Well, first of all, I liked the whole tease of Godzilla. I was totally into that. I liked the whole relationship thing between the dad and the son. I liked how the little boy grew up to be. Well, see, I like the melodrama.
Okay.
I like the melodrama. I know you guys hate the melodrama. I know you do.
And it's done badly,
all right. I understand. Look, there are movies that I like that other people don't, and you got to. Well, there you go.
That's why. At least with the new Godzilla film, the latest Godzilla film, Kong versus Godzilla, they didn't bother with any melodrama. At least, they disposed of that. Yes, it had a ridiculous.
It was dumb, but at least it was,
They thought, what? Screw the soap opera shit. Let's just get to this action.
Let's just get to it.
They did that.
So you didn't like the sign language stuff either, huh?
I definitely could have lived without that. It didn't grate on my very being the way it did to Matt, but I definitely was not necessary.
No, the sign language was necessary. How are you going to communicate with Kong? Oh, drop a note. Here, Kong, write him a note. Oh, write him a note. Here, you
banana language.
Why does it have to be a cute little deaf girl? Why can't it be the other woman scientist there that she teaches him sign language? Because as I said before, I like the idea of Kong knowing sign language. That's fine. He could do it with a scientist, not some adorable little deaf girl.
Yeah, I don't want a toddler being the interface.
She's not I know you guys don't like kids. Something. She's not a toddler. Not a toddler. Okay.
Hey, Boy, the fate of the world rests on this gorilla.
Now, Sean's just making a joke. Sean's just making a joke. I'm just saying, Sean, for listeners,
yeah,
Sean's
if you don't know that,
he loves
viewers, them joking, then you're like Larry, who doesn't understand jokes. But okay.
Let's do the joke disclaimer. Yeah, anyway, let's get.
Okay, is this going to be part 2, Godzilla vs. Kong?
Yeah,
or are we getting to
all
an
right.
actual
Let's
topic?
go. He's got a job to go to tomorrow, but this is always good. This is always good stuff. You know how much people enjoyed our last discussion about this?
I know.
Oh yeah.
And Matt,
Larry's gone.
It would be fun for us all to get a lightsaber, do a little battle, Monster Party guys.
Who would have which color?
Okay. So, what would you want, Matt? I see you with a red one.
I would be red, yes.
Yes.
I'm blue. So I prefer.
You're blue, okay.
James, what color would you be?
I guess green, purple, whatever's left.
Don't say green, purple. You have to pick it. You would feel it.
Is Mace Windu? Is that purple?
Purple. Yeah,
That's purple. Purple is cool. Yeah. I'll take purple.
All right. Okay.
That's Tinky Winky color. You know that, right?
Tinky Winky.
Yeah.
The Teletubby.
Teletubbies.
Oh.
I'm going to leave that alone.
See, I'm with.
I'm out, Larry.
I'm with Josh because I would do blue. I would feel good and cool in blue.
I always felt that the blue looked really good, whereas the green was not quite as. I don't know. It didn't feel right to me.
So what color lightsaber would you have,
Sean? I want the double blade one, the one that Darth Maul has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh,
that's cool.
Good choice.
I like that one. Yeah.
I want the standard Vader one.
It's interesting how Matt and Sean want the evil lightsaber.
Yeah.
Is it though?
The one that Kylo Ren has with the little daggers from the handle.
That's
cool. That's cool. I like that too.
I like how they keep thinking up variations on them.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's neat. All right, we should probably start this.
Yes.
I just got to say, I got some change. So before we get started, I just want to put it away.
No. Oh my God.
He has an infinity gauntlet that he is also it's a different kind of bank. Boy, that thing looks like it would hurt. It's the movie. It's the movie Infinity Gauntlet.
Does it make noise, Josh, when you put something in?
No.
You can make noise though when you put in the coins yourself.
I guess you can.
Yeah, not.
I really like that one though. That is nice. I like that. It's not as
Mine is the comic book version.
Yes, it's not the comic book.
That one makes noise.
Oh, now Josh has Thor's hammer, so that
Thor's
means
hammer.
Worthy. You are worthy.
You're worthy of having a credit card.
Having a motion picture prop replica.
I've done some therapy shopping a couple times. Like I did get.
Nice.
He's got Captain America's shield.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Made of plastmantium.
It'll eventually go on a wall, but yeah, there's the pandemic. While I've been blessed to be working, there have been months of like, I'm sad. I'm going to order
buy something.
Sure, works for us.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's how we spent our entire lives, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I did, guys? I was so craving a con. I went to Frankenson's toy show.
Oh my God! Wow.
In City of Industry.
Wait,
and they're open?
It was open?
They're open. Yeah.
Wow.
It's you had to wait online for half an hour. There was 6 feet apart. Everybody has to wear a mask.
Right.
But
good.
It was just so good to be surrounded by people who are so into the same stuff and to be surrounded by the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I found something I didn't know would come out in the past year since we haven't been going to conventions. Found a little Wonder Woman. It's like a 6-inch figure, and it's Linda Carter.
That's the face came out recently. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
It's so
pretty
cool.
good. Yeah, it's really
That's
good.
not bad. Yeah.
Because NECA, this isn't NECA, but NECA had done a Christopher Reeve 6-inch Superman and the Adam West Batman. And this is like the same scale, so I can sort of have my three Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Sure, yeah.
And also a Stormtrooper, a Disney Store exclusive, which I don't really collect Star Wars stuff, but this thing is die-cast.
That's cool. That's like
nice.
newer from the newer films. That looks cool. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good though. I like that. I just a few weeks back, I just finally walked back into Amoeba Records. It was amazing, just to walk into the store again and look through DVDs and see other people doing it. I mean, it was great. It was like limited. They let people in. Same thing, limited capacity. But man, just to be in a physical store again, surrounded by DVDs and CDs, it's great.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
Yep.
Have you guys seen the Fleischer Superman figures that came out recently?
Oh,
I've seen pictures of them.
Yeah, I want the mechanical monster ones.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They're gorgeous, and because it looks like the Fleischer cartoons like came off the screen.
I saw those. They look great.
I love those cartoons. Those are the best.
Yeah, and Larry, you might like that. There's that set that has from the Mechanical Monsters that episode.
I'm gonna have to check that one out.
And they're really neat. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with those, Josh. I'll have to check those out. Definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's start.
Yeah, let's start.
Let's start this. Okay. So sci-fi mashups. Sex and horror.
The Mandalorian and sex and horror. And
the sexy horror of the Mandalorian.